Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto bloodline awakens by gods in Chunin exams. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Skrevingsk and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Third Ninja World War Wagakure vs Konoha Forces. Explosions were going off all over the trenches, Iwa was pushing the front lines hard, and the last of Konoha's forces were hard-pressed to continue holding out in their current positions. The Jonins in charge of the defenses had sent a messenger hawk for reinforcements and got orders to hold out and await backup that had been deployed that was 4 days ago. Sir, the defenses on the right flank over the hill are crumbling, we're being routed. Damn it. Sentries, do you see our backup? Any sign at all that we haven't been abandoned? No sir, no sign at all, maybe the sentry was cut off as a paper bomb detonated at his feet and he Jonin captain was forced to dive for cover once again. All of a sudden cheers of victory were heard from over the hill and both Iwa and Konoha forces halted their attack to listen. The Iwa Nin all smirked at the apparent capture of the right flank and were about to renew their assault on the Konoha headquarters until a mass of tri-pronged kunai landed amongst their forces. In the split second their vision went back to the hill, they saw what was obviously Konoha forces charging over from the other battlefield before they saw no more. From the Konoha trenches all that could be seen across the no man's land between the two opposing forces amongst the Iwa lines were a series of rapid fires, flashes of yellow and startled screams as the enemy dropped like flies, then the thunder hit. From seemingly everywhere boom after boom echoed across the battleground until everybody was driven to the point of covering their ears from the concussion of sound battering down on them. Then everything was silent. Everyone in the trenches stared in morbid fascination and if they were honest abject horror at the massacre that had just occurred in no more than 15 seconds. 15 seconds to silence the lives of over 400 men and women who were just following orders. When the dust kicked up by the concussive sound waves from the thunder died down, a figure was spotted stood amongst the carnage. Bathed in gore from head to toe, taking deep calming breaths and eyes that looked dead to the world stood Minato Namikaze. The remnants of his Horatian technique, the signature yellow lightning, crackled and faded from his body as the technique died out and he relaxed his taut muscles as he walked over to the Konoha lines. Namikaze, that was incredible, the Jonin captain breathed out in awe of the man before him. Don't mention it, captain. Now where is your commander? I will need a quick debriefing before I head back to Konoha. Minato stated in a low and even tone as his arm twitched uncontrollably for a split second. Strange, Minato thought to himself. I must have been affected by those acts more than I thought. Unfortunately, you looking at the ranking Jonin here, our commander got eviscerated in the third wave of the assault, the captain said. In that case, do I really need a debrief from you if you just saw all that? Minato slowly gestured to the carnage behind him, refusing to look lest the faces of every Iwa Nin he just killed flashed through his mind. The captain gave a sigh as he realized what was wrong with their savior. True, although should you really head back right this minute? Doing all that takes a lot out of any man, let alone someone who does it that quickly, he stated with a hint of worry for the young blonde-haired Jonin. Don't worry, I'm fine. Still got some gas left in the tank, I should make it about halfway home before night falls. To be honest with himself, Minato was not fine in the slightest, but his thoughts right now were on the comforting arms of his beautiful red-haired Uzumaki Haim and the solace the brought along with her comforting ministrations. Alright, if you're sure you can make it, alright, I won't hold you up. I'll hopefully see you at home when all this mess is over, and with that the captain turned around and started barking out orders for the cleanup operation. Minato turned southeast toward the Fire Nation and took a deep breath before leaping into the tree line and towards home, towards the woman who could make all this trauma disappear. From the cliffs a couple miles north of the battlefield, the Iwa reconnaissance ambush squad stared on as they watched the entire event unfold before them. But that's impossible, stated one. I know. There was no stopping him. All you could see was a yellow flash. At night under the stars yellow lightning crackled and arced over the body of a certain sleeping Namikaze as he dreamt of every single face frozen in horror at the sight before them as they died. Unaware was he of the change to his very being wrought by his trauma that was repressed to the depths of his mind. Unaware that his acts today had started the future. So what do you think? I honestly don't know where I'm going with this. My original idea was for the next chapter that I'm going to write. This was a burst of inspiration that just happened. Chapter 1. Pep Talk. Naruto arrived outside the stadium full of energy and bouncing around like a madman possessed, even his arm was twitching in excitement. Wait, what? AWWW, man. He screamed in his head. He thought his damn arm had stopped after that motivational talk with Hinata-chan. Wait, Chan. When did I add that? No distractions, Uzumaki. That can wait. You've got a promotion to score. Flashback no jutsu. Naruto was walking along trying to get his arm under control, cursing the fact that he started to get nervous now when the exams are an hour away. He realized he was near his old training ground and decided for a quick visit when he spotted someone familiar there already. It was Hinata. "Hinata, you're alright now?" There was a quiet eep as Hinata jumped and hid behind the training post that she had been staring at. "Nah, Naruto-kun, why are you here? Isn't today the finals?" Naruto looked at her quizzically before replying. "Well, I just came to check out this practice field since this is the place I became a genin." "Oh, why?" "Nothing. Who cares?" "Oh, yay, sorry." Naruto sighed in exasperation and desperation. "It's worth a shot, I suppose," he thought depressingly. "Hinata Niji's a relative of yours, right?" "Why, yay." He paused for a moment before asking the question on the tip of his tongue before going for it. "He's strong, right?" "Why, yeah." Naruto looked down what little hope he had dwindling quickly. Hinata, noticing this, quickly thought of something to say to help get it back. But you might be able to beat him, Naruto-kun, because." "Haha. Yeah. I'm really strong." "Haha," he butted in really quickly out of nervousness, ending all conversation as a dead silence descended on the duo. "Oh, when you cheered for me I felt like I had become stronger after the prelims ended. I started liking myself a little more to other people. It may not seem like I changed, but I felt like I was able to change. It was thanks to you, Naruto-kun, is what I think." "Haha. Thanks to me, eh? Yeah, I'm very influential." "Hey Hinata, did you really think that?" Was her intelligent response. He paused before continuing. "I may appear strong to you, but that's because I act all tough because I'm so frustrated from always failing." Hinata's thoughts at this moment were along the lines of, "Oh my god. He's letting his mask down in front of me. Quick, help him out. Say something inspirational. Now, girl." On the surface she kept calm and said, "That's not true, even when you always fail in my eyes you're a proud failure. When I look at you I get an intense feeling in my heart because you're not perfect, because you fail you have the strength to get back up, because I believe that's what true strength is. I think you an incredibly strong person, Naruto-kun." Naruto stood there in stunned silence for a moment before he came to his senses and replied with a smile on his face, "Thanks Hinata. Earlier I was feeling uncharacteristically depressed, but now I feel great. You know about you, I thought you were a plain, looking dark weirdo." Hinata's world crashed around her head for a split second. "He thinks I'm weird. But a person like you I really like." Her mind went from rock bottom to overdrive as she stared in dumbfounded silence. "He said he liked people like me. Well, I'm off to the exam. You better come watch me kick that Niji guy's ass. Later." And he left with nothing but a tough guy over the head wave without looking back. Flashback no jutsu. Kai. And? Saw as if that was long. Naruto stood there staring as the twitching in his arm died down again before striding into the competitor's entrance, riding high from the confidence boost from Hinata, and proceeded to walk out into the arena and take his place in the lineup, and then his confidence took another blow. He looked into the crowd. All eyes, and I mean all eyes apart from the younger generation, were scowling down at him from the spectators' stands, and he couldn't help but drown out the proctor and let his mind wander. God damn it. After all this work getting to the finals, proving I'm capable to be a ninja, they still look at me like I smell and look like gutter trash. What do I have to do to these people to make them accept me? And why won't my arms stop bloody twitching? I'm not that nervous." Chapter end. Chapter 2. The Power of Human Sacrifice. First match, Uzumaki Naruto vs Niji Hyuga Hate, called out in an authoritative voice and caused the crowd to break into cheers. As Naruto walked over to the middle of the field he heard Niji say to him, "Even the crowd knows your fate, Uzumaki, listen to them predict your downfall," and listen he did, and his mood only soured more as he heard snippets of what the crowd was shouts at him specifically. Things such as, "You're gonna get what's coming to you, Brad, and revenge will finally be our demon, also the Hyuga will get vengeance for us now, scum, why can't they all just shut up? I don't need this right now," Naruto thought as he stretched and took his ready stance facing Niji. As he thought this his arm gave a jerking twitch and he jumped about a foot in the air, causing people to laugh at him. "Mothers, that hurt, damn it," he mentally screamed as it felt like he got shocked all up his right arm. "And my arm is still twitching." He was getting frustrated now. This could seriously impede his hand seals and taijutsu during the fight. Unfortunately he didn't have time to dwell on his hate call out Hajime. And Niji charged straight for him. Naruto dodged by doing a flip over Niji's head and getting some distance managed to spam some clones to stall him so he could think of a plan. As Niji dealt with the clones, Naruto think what the name of the Hyuga style again, Janken? No, Jaiken. Yay, that's it. Now what does it do? Targets the chakra points if I remember correctly. Hey, how did I know that? Okay, today is getting weirder and weirder. Whoa. Crowd is thinking. Naruto failed to realize that Niji had dealt with his clones and land a strike to his stomach. Humph. Face it, Uzumaki, you are a failure. You have always been destined to fail. Everyone knows it. Why fight your fate? I don't believe in fate, Niji. If I did I would have died long ago in an alleyway somewhere in the village. And everybody would be happy and not care. But I lived. I wanted something more than what I had. I wanted to be a ninja and change people's ideas about me. Now look, I'm in the Chunin exam finals and fighting the prodigy of the Hyuga clan, the village elite. If I'm a failure then I'm a proud failure. And I make my own fate. HN, we shall see. You are still going to lose. As I said, fate is predestined. Naruto didn't grace him with an answer and just bum rushed him with more clones. Gotta think, get past his Naruto realized that as he was thinking about getting past Niji's Jaiken strikes, that there were constant replays in his head, and every time he would get hit the next replay would be him getting past that strike and getting hit by the next, and so on and so on. And then a miracle happened. Naruto Uzumaki had an epiphany. I get my clones' memories and experiences. An evil grin spread across his face at the possibilities, but he quickly shook it off to concentrate on the match. Right, so if I got in now I'll get clobbered in the chest. Let's try this again, he said. Make 5 more clones that attacked one at a time. Each one dodging more strikes than the last. Naruto was actually keeping his cool and assessing his opponent. The Sandaime smirked, thanking his lucky stars. Naruto was growing up, if albeit slowly, but he couldn't help but wonder what brought this change on. He was interrupted from his musings by the Kazekage. That blonde boy down there seems to have surprised you, Honorable Third. May I ask why? Of course, Kazekage-sama, it is because Naruto there usually charges in first and asks questions later. To see him staying back and observing and evaluating his opponent is a great step forward in progress for him as a ninja. I see, although I don't see how that will help him defeat the prodigy of the Hyuga. A plan alone cannot win a fight. Hiruzen noticed Naruto smirk evilly before wiping his face clean and school his expression. He looked to where his eyes were focused and noticed his clones steadily gaining ground. He smirked himself, seeing that Naruto finally figured out what his clones are capable of. Perhaps you're right, but I have faith in Naruto. It seems he has an advantage nobody else knows of. Oh? And what might that be, inquired the disguised Kazekage. Wouldn't spoil the surprise for you. No, Kazekage-sama, just watch and be prepared for a surprise win. The Kazekage shifted in his seat in anticipation. Perhaps this brat will end up being more of a nuisance than I previously thought. I may have to have him dealt with later during the invasion, he thought sinisterly. Naruto was now preparing to fight Niji for real and was waiting for the last clones to gain all available knowledge from combat with Niji. Stop sending in these damn clones, you coward, fame me for real. Shouted Niji, growing increasingly frustrated with the amount of clones bogging him down and wearing him out of chakra. Naruto just smirked and sent a couple more clones at him to anger him more. After all, an angry opponent makes mistakes, right? Wow, I'm really on the ball today, I thinking so clearly. He thought as he spammed 10 more clones that all charged Niji to rile him up. What Naruto was not expecting was for Next to get so angry that he broke out a technique he was not supposed to know. All Naruto heard was rotation. All of Naruto's clones were detonated and Niji stopped his spin and scowled at Naruto. I should not have done that, he stated in a displeased tone. He now realized what Naruto had done and was angry at himself for falling for it and was going to correct it. Now that the cat was out of the bag, I was meant to save that technique for a later fight. No matter, I will end this now. You are in range of my divination, what? Said Naruto, prepared for whatever Niji was going to do. But he was not prepared for this. Niji moved quicker than Naruto could follow and struck quickly and precisely. 8 trigrams, 2 palms. 4 palms. 8 palm. 16 palms, 32 palms, 64 palms. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. The crowd cheered as Naruto fell to the floor. He may have fallen by, he was still conscious and was slowly getting more upset with the comments shouted into the arena. Finish him. Rid us of the demon. Destroy him. That's it. I am not giving up here. Deep within Naruto mind, Kyuubi's cage room began to spark with a strange yellow light. I would arc across the bars of his cell and of the walls. Well, this is interesting. This has never happened before, was all he said before a small orb of yellow appeared outside the cage and shocked the Kyuubi, making him first stand on end and his chakra spike uncontrollably. This chakra Yondaime. Outside the seal in the arena, Niji watched as Naruto tried to move before turning to the proctor. Proctor, call the match. He won't be getting up, he said before spinning around at the spike of evil chakra from behind him. In the split second his Byakugan glanced Naruto's chakra system, he swore he saw a fox's head inside his stomach look directly at him and roar before he blinked and it was gone. But that paled in comparison to the fact that Naruto was stood up with chakra flowing freely through his body. How? That should be impossible, no one can reopen their chakra system forcefully like that. What's the matter, Niji? Fate not going your way today? That was the last straw for Niji, and he exploded at Naruto. What would you know, fool? Fate has not gone my way my entire life. You know nothing of the suffering I have been through under the hand of my so-called family. He proceeded to rip off his headband and unwrap his forehead bandages. You see this? This is what keeps me from being free. Do you know what it's like to live beneath the shadow of a seal all your life? You don't, do you? You're wrong, Niji. I know exactly how that feels, Naruto whispered quietly, but all the same Niji heard it. What? How could you? Explain what you mean, Uzumaki. Fine, but watch the faces of the villagers who hear me speak with your Byakugan, then you will know my truth, Naruto said in a voice that was darker than usual, surprising Hinata who was reading his lips with the Byakugan. Oh Naruto, this is the second time today you've let down your mask today. What makes you suffer so much, she thought sadly. Niji paused a second, then activated his Byakugan. Naruto started to speak in a dead voice as he began a tale that would change a life today. 13 years ago the Kyuubi attacked Konoha, we lost many ninja, and the village would have been destroyed if it wasn't for the Yondaime. I've heard this story before, do not stall. I'm not stalling, shut up and listen. Naruto chanced to glance at the cage box to see the Sandaime looking on in horror as he lip-read Naruto and realized what Naruto was doing and shook his head, telling him not to. Naruto ignored him. Then he proceeded to attack half seriously to make it look like they were still fighting. As I said, we would be destroyed if it weren't for Yondaime, he charged into battle to stop the fox. But even he could not defeat it. So he came up with another plan. He took an orphan and performed a sealing process, placing the fox inside a newborn so the baby's chakra coils could adapt to the fox's power. His last wish was for me to be seen as a hero. But this village spat on him and his request. I was kicked out of the orphanage when I was 4. I lived on the streets for almost a year when the Sandaime found me. I was 4. Niji was so stunned by this news he could not stop Naruto before he continued. The third set up an account and donated from his personal fund for me to live on and bought me my apartment. But he could do nothing against the entire village and their biased hatred. I was banned from some shops and could go nowhere and be treated nicely apart from the Ichiraku raiment stand. I had to ask the third to deal with things to allow me to at least buy clothes for myself. And still the scorn continued. Every year on my birthday I had to hide inside in fear that the festival goers and revelers would become too enraged upon seeing me be accosted for just walking around. It wasn't until I entered the academy that it stopped, but even then the instructors treat me nicely. No help in lessons, outdated materials and equipment, and I swear to this day my tests were always harder than everyone else's. Naruto disengaged the Taijutsu fight and jumped back. So tell me, Niji Hyuga, does fate rule my life? Have I gone along with what I was dealt? No. I've fought it at every turn and fought tooth and nail to get to where I am now, and you will not take it from me. So come on, let's finish this, then maybe you can go and fight your fate. Niji stood there frozen in a stance for what seemed like forever to him before he shook himself, wiped the tear from his eye, then looked at Naruto and said. It would be an honor, Uzumaki-san. From then on it turned into who could come up with the best planned fight as they both displayed increasing ingenuity until Naruto tricked Niji's Byakugan by tunneling underground and uppercutting him into unconsciousness. He was then taken away on a stretcher. Chapter end. Chapter 3. Awakening. As Niji was carried from the stadium with a smile on his face, Naruto registered that there was no cheering for his victory. Without even missing a beat, he immediately left the arena floor and got out of the spotlight. After revealing that much about himself to someone, he didn't need to deal with all the villagers at the moment, so the mask went back on, especially as when he started to walk past people from the stands making their way to the bathroom and he heard them muttering the same things as always, only with renewed hatred. Everybody was stunned and disgusted apparently that he could become this powerful. Not like I know what's going on, he thought to himself. I can just think more clearly today for some reason. Hell, I shocked myself with some of the plans I came up with in that fight. Still, as he made it back to the competitor's box, he couldn't help but dwell on what he had revealed and the memories that surfaced with it. He sighed to himself thinking, well, this is going to be a long wait. With these thoughts going through my head, he then proceeded to stand next to Shino and Shikamaru to wait for the next fight against Temari of the Sand. Will Shikamaru, Nara and Temari of the Sand please come down to the arena for their match? Hate called out to the stands, alerting everyone that the match would begin. While everyone heard this and Temari left the box, Shikamaru being himself did not move, just looked bored with the whole situation. He was not prepared therefore when he shifted his weight and brushed against Naruto's right arm, or for the static shock that caused him to be flung over the railing and smack into the area floor. Troublesome blonde, that shock hurt. I didn't know he knew lighting jutsu either, he thought to himself as he dusted himself off. Well, might as well get this over with. Looking over at Temari. Back in the box, good work Naruto-san. It appears that all Shikamaru-san needed was a push, so to speak. Replied Naruto smartly. So much for thinking clearly. But Shino, I didn't push him. Of course you didn't, replied the stoic Aburam with what appeared to be an amused smile appearing over the top of his coat. Okay, thought Naruto. Shino is smiling. That's the weirdest thing to happen today. Man. This match plays out the same as the manga, so moving on. After Shikamaru's surprise forfeit to Temari, it was one surprise after another as Shino managed to hold out against Kankuro and disable him by having his bugs eat through the puppet's joints, rendering it useless. Then came Gaara and Sasuke's match. Sasuke was used as a mop to say the least. When he pierced Gaara's sand shield, it only served to enrage Gaara more, causing him to break both of Sasuke's legs in the process of beating him into the ground. Disappointing Sasuke-kun, it seems my work will be cut out for me when you come to me for power, Kukuku thought the Kazekage while observing the beating with disappointment in his eyes. Sarutobi noticed the disappointment and thought to himself, why would he be disappointed with his son winning? He thought he'd test something here. Your son appears well-trained, Kazekage-sama, to beat the last Uchiha so soundly. Yet you seem disappointed. The Kazekage was startled out of his thoughts by the Hokage's comment. Excuse me? Oh yes, I am pleased with Gaara's skill, it's just that the rumors of the last Uchiha seem exaggerated. Especially considering that he has the powerful Sharingan. So much potential power in those eyes, yet he was beaten so easily. The way he talks about the Sharingan makes it sound like he covets the thing. Oh. So that's your game, my old student. Well, thank you for the slip-up. Sarutobi just nodded and agreed on the surface before coming up with a quick plan. Would you indulge an old man and allow him to smoke his pipe, Kazekage-sama? Lied Hiruzen. But of course, Hokage-sama. Thank you. He then patted himself down before finding disappointment. Oh dear, it seems I left it at the office. He then made a shadow clone to go retrieve it, or so the disguised Orochimaru thought. The clone actually informed the Anbu to lock the village down immediately before retrieving the pipe and returning before dispelling. Sarutobi with a satisfied smirk let out a sigh and he lit up the pipe and relaxed with a secret victory puff, complimenting himself on a ruse well done. Down on the floor, Gaara began to leave as Hade called out the next match for Temari and Naruto. But before Naruto could be roused from his thoughts, Temari forfeited, allowing Naruto an easy advancement. Then Shino forfeited, stating his Kakachu bugs would not be able to get to Gaara, rendering all his techniques useless. So Gaara turned around and walked back out onto the field with a manic look in his eyes. Finally. Mother will have the blood she wanted. He thought manically. Get down here, Uzumaki, I will have your blood. He screamed to the competitor's box, rousing Naruto from his thoughts. Of course, the first thing he heard and registered in his mind, thanks to his thoughts over the past couple of fights, were the villagers and their cries for him to be killed. God damn it. He thought in despair, what will it take for them to stop this? All of a sudden he saw a wispy-looking seal appear on the wall he was staring at before he blinked, and it was gone. What the hell? Before time slowed down for him. Inside his mind, Kyuubi watched as the lighting arced and spiked to amazing levels and formed a globe of pure condensed yellow lighting before stopping in a dead silence. Was all Kyuubi managed to get out before a single arc of lightning lashed out and connected to the ceiling paper on the iron bar gate and electrocuted him in his cage, causing him to roar out in pain. In the waking world, all hell broke loose in the competitor's box. As all of a sudden a gut-wrenching scream echoed from Naruto's mouth as he flailed about with lighting arcing around his body. They watched horrified as Naruto managed to stay upright and stagger to the railing before falling over it to the arena floor. The crowd were so stunned by this turn of events that they couldn't even scream out that it was Kyuubi. Then he did something no one was expecting. He disappeared in a yellow flash and reappeared halfway across the arena. Hiruzen jumped into action at this turn events and shouted out an order. Kakashi, secure you student now. Kakashi leapt from the stands, followed by Guy, who decided to help, but as they approached, lightning arced across field, striking them away with force. Then the Naruto stopped screaming and fell backwards unconscious. Everybody was stunned at the events taking place. The Kyuubi brat just used the Yondame's technique. Kakashi quickly approached and checked for a pulse. He is just unconscious, Hokage-sama, he shouted out in relief. Take him to the infirmary quickly. Ordered the Sandame in full authority mode. Kakashi left in a rush, carrying Naruto in his arms. Hade announced the winner, said the Hokage, leaning on the railings of the cage box in deep thought. Naruto was. What was that? Was that the Kyuubi's doing? He thought worriedly. Winner by default. Gaara of the Sahate was suddenly hit by a wall of sand, courtesy of a manic Gaara. No, mother demands blood. He screamed in a rage, and the sand covered half his body and formed a giant clawed sand arm. At the same time this happened, the cage box exploded in smoke and the feathers began to fall from the ceiling, putting all the civilians to sleep. The invasion of Konoha had finally begun. Kakashi had arrived at the infirmary and stood aside as the medics examined him. Well, Kakashi-san, it appears that Uzumaki-san is just passed out. He should be fine, although I cannot begin to explain what happened. All of a sudden a large explosion rocked the room and a Chunin came through the door, shouting they were being invaded by Odo and Suna. No one get into this room, do you understand? Kakashi said to the Chunin before performing a suction out of the room back to the arena. Meanwhile inside Kyuubi's seal. Naruto lay passed out here as well, but that was not what had the Kyuubi's attention at this point in time. Yondaime. Kyuubi. Yondaime. Kyuubi. The Kyuubi growled as he continued to stare into the eyes of the man who put him here. Flashback no jutsu. Kyuubi howled in pain as the lightning continued to arc into the seal and cause him immense pain. This was unexpected. He thought as he tried to see what was happening on the other side of the bars to his cage and watched as an ethereal form was pulled out of the seal and given solid form. Kyuubi looked down at the hard-breathing man in front of his cage, wondering how in the hell this happened. He growled low in his throat, alerting the man to his presence as the man's head shot up and blue eyes connected with blood-red ones. Flashback no jutsu kai. Something is wrong, Minato stated as continued to stare down Kyuubi. Ha. You think? Kyuubi replied sarcastically. I hope never to see you again. I hope my failsafe would not be needed. Lucky you then. I am not breaking free and the failsafe is not activated. Then how am I here? As much as I would love to withhold that information from you, I am afraid to say that I do not know. You will have to ask the big glowing orb Shinji behind you. Minato turned around and his jaw dropped. Impossible, he screamed in his head as he stared at what looked like to him a condensed ball of Horatian lightning. Now I'm really confused. I assume then, from your silence, that my assumption was correct. This bowl of bright yellow lightiness that taunts me with its resemblance to the sun, which I have not seen in years by the way, is in fact your accursed Horatian technique. I guess so. I mean it feels like the Horatian, but it's subtly different. I might be able to tell more if I was outside the seal. Well, now is your chance. The boy is unconscious from it awakening and Konoha is current being invaded. What? And you didn't mention this before. You didn't ask, replied the Kyuubi nonchalantly. Oh look, test subjects have arrived, good luck. Wait, Minato tried to say before he disappeared. Kyuubi hurriedly forced Minato to the surface of Naruto's mind. Heh, so worth it. Man. This next bit will be Minato in Naruto's body, please don't get confused. Minato woke to a kunai poised over his chest. He quickly rolled towards his body and fell to the floor. He took a cheap shot to the Odo nin's junk and caused him to drop the kunai he held. Before he could react, Minato grabbed the kunai and planted it through the nin's chin into head. As he drew the blade out with a wet squelching sound, he saw the dead man's partner come flying through the side door and Neji run through. Naruto. He exclaimed when he laid eyes on the boy in front of him. Sorry Hyuga-san, wrong person, said Minato distractedly while looking in fascination at his eyes in a mirror. Fascinating, he thought as he examined his, or rather Naruto's, eyes. They had changed, they were still sky blue, but the pupil had vanished, in its place was the Horatian seal. It even acted like a pupil contracting and expanding to the light exposed to it. But the fascinating part was that wherever he looked there was an ethereal Horatian seal floating over the spot his eyes laid eyes on, so that's the different feeling in the chakra. It appears Naruto has inherited the Horatian bloodline. This is amazing. He thought with glee as he tried to teleport to the other side of the room and crashed into a cupboard. I'm a little rusty on the landing it seems. Hey Kyuubi. Exclaimed Neji in slight panic. Minato chuckled at this. Wrong again, I'm afraid, Hyuga-san. I'm Naruto's father and it a long story. Could you please locate the third Hokage for me with your Byakugan, Hyuga-san? We are under attack it seems. Hi, said a thoroughly confused Neji as he scanned the stadium for the Sandaime. He is on the roof in what appears to be a barrier of some sort fighting a make with snakes and what looks like the first and second Hokages. Orochimaru and Ito Tensei, thought Minato bitterly. Thanks, Kitty said before disappearing out the door and looking to the end of the hallway and concentrating. He Horatianed to the end of the hallway and managed to stick the landing this time and repeated the process to get outside as a bit of practice. When he emerged he made his was over to someone he recognized in the arena who was fighting with a man dressed all in green with a bowl cut. Kakashi. Kakashi did a double take at the sound of that voice, turned to see Naruto running towards him. Naruto? He asked questionably. Nope, sorry, it's me, Minato. It's Naruto's body, but I'm driving if you get my drift. Anyways, listen, there is no time, I need some sealing paper and ink quickly. Kakashi nodded dumbly before handing over his entire equipment pouch in shock and watched as his supposed dead sensei ran away in his son's body. Minato looked to the roof of the arena and teleported to the top where an Anbu unit stood watching the fight inside the barrier. Hey, why aren't you trying to get into the barrier? Questioned Minato, frantically come to a stop beside them. We've tried, kid, but the barrier is too strong, stated the Anbu squad leader who wore a boar mask. What are you doing here anyway? You should be helping the civvies evacuate to the caves. Long story short, I'm the Yondaime possessing this boy's body, now hold on to me, as soon as we're inside go for the nin holding up the barrier, it'll help the Sandaime. The Anbu squad, just like Kakashi, nodded dumbly before placing a hand on Minato and being teleported inside the barrier, not even thinking to ask how they would get into it. Nonetheless, as soon as they reappeared they went for the Sound Four, who were forced to move from their positions, causing the barrier to fall. Minato Hiraition it again behind Orochimaru and tried to use a Rasengan between his shoulder blades. Unfortunately, because Naruto had never used Rasengan, it only stayed active for a second before dissipating. Still, Minato only needed a second to use it and sent the snake Pedo flying across the roof. "Naruto, what the hell are you doing here?" screamed Hiruzen as he jumped back from the Shadame and Nidame who he was fighting. "I'm Minato, old man. It a long story, just switch opponents with me quick." Sarutobi started for a split second before nodding a going with the flow by jumping over and engaging Orochimaru. Minato turned to the first two Hokages before bowing to them. "It is an honor to test my skills against my predecessors," he said in a humble tone. "You're a Hokage?" asked the Nidame in amusement. "I was the Yondaime before I was forced to use the Reaper Death Seal and seal the Kyuubi inside my son, whose body you see here, along with some of my chakra when it was ripped from my wife the second Jinchuriki during childbirth." The Kages look on in amazement before being forced to charge him to attack. They did not get far, however, as Minato Hiraition hid behind them and kicked at the back of their knees, causing the to keel over backwards before he slapped two pieces of paper on their foreheads and shouting seal. "Well, that was easier than expected," stated Minato to himself as he stood up as looked over see Sarutobi take away Orochimaru's arms through the Reaper Death Seal. "My jutsu? Curse you, you decrepit old fool, I will get you for this," he exclaimed as he beat a full retreat from the battlefield. "Cough cough, no you won't," whispered the Sandai mask. He turned to see the Shinigami begin to take his soul as payment before passing out until Minato stepped in the way and confronted the death god. "For the contract it states a soul for a soul. You have only taken the arms of a spirit, not the entire thing, Shinigami. You may only take his legs as fair payment, those are the rules and you know it, you greedy son of a bitch." The Shinigami narrowed his eyes before taking his dagger and severing Hiruzen's legs from his spirit before disappearing. Minato then took a deep breath and sat down next to Hiruzen to wait for the Anbu. But when they arrived they brought along a prisoner. The girl from Orochimaru's guard had been overpowered, it seems. At this point they all felt demonic twisted chakra look to the forest to see a giant tanuki made of sand rise from the tree line. Minato took one look at it and sighed. "Screw that, Naruto, you're up," he thought as he went back inside the seal and Naruto woke up. Chapter end. Chapter 4. Tearful reunion and explanations. Naruto closed and locked his apartment door behind him. He had to spend the entire day with the recovering Hokage, who was now restricted to a wheelchair due to his use of the Reaper Death Seal and the loss of his legs. Explaining what happened after he seemingly woke up on the roof next to the Sandame and was told by the Anbu there to deal with Gaara, who had transformed into the giant Biju that was storming towards the village. Needless to say, it had been a long day. He sighed as his head hit the pillow. Finally, he thought sleepily, sweet dreams, Naruto. After lying there for what seemed like an age, he opened his eyes to see Kyuubi staring down at him. "Or not," he said out loud to no one in particular, not expecting an answer. "Sorry Naruto, no dreams yet," said a voice from behind him, causing his to spin around in alarm. His eyes bulged out of his head at the sight of who stood behind him and his jaw hit the floor. The Yondaime was looking at him with a smile on his face. "Hello Naruto, we need to have a chat," spoke Minato, hoping to have a heartfelt first meeting with his son. That didn't happen. Quick as a flash, he jetted. Naruto was across the space between them with his fist planted in the Yondaime's stomach. If Naruto was older this may have winded Minato severely, but due to Naruto's small stature, it served nothing towards even making him expel a breath from his lungs. Seeing this, Naruto, under all the pressure the last couple of days from the villagers in the stadium and after the invasion, started to weakly beat on Minato's torso while releasing all his emotions in the form of tears and muttering over and over in a weak voice, "It's all your fault. Bastard." Revealing what was hidden beneath his mask. A 13-year-old boy with the weight of the world on his shoulders. Minato looked down at Naruto in absolute shock before looking up at Kyuubi, who to his amazement looked to have an expression on pity on his face as he observed the scene before him. "I will admit I have not exactly been nice to the boy either in the 2 times we have met, but what the village has done to him since the beginning even I would consider cruel," said the mighty Biju, noticing Minato looking at him. "Why didn't you say anything when I first appeared?" "Because I was trying to work out why you appeared, fool," replied the Kyuubi in an annoyed tone. "If you wish to understand what he is talking about, have a look at his memories. But for now calm him down and explain what we have found out." Minato nodded and looked back down at Naruto, who had now let go of him and continued crying. "Naruto, I don't know what your life has been like, but I did not intend for it to go so horribly. Trust me, if this never had happened you would have had a loving mother and father and grown up happy. But the attack occurred a mere hour after you were born and I was out of options. It doesn't matter either way, my mother and father still die in the attack," Naruto stated in a low tone. "Well, I wouldn't exactly call me dead if I'm stood here, would you?" smirked Minato playfully. Naruto just froze at those words. "What?" "Think Naruto, if I couldn't use my own child, how could I ask someone else to give up theirs? I knew that no matter what happened you would not give in to the pain and lose yourself to the power you contained. Your mother managed to live a very happy life while she contained Kyuubi, and while you look so much like me physically you take after her so much in your personality. Do you love Raymond as much as her? Naruto nodded with tears in his eyes. My mother loved Raymond as well, he thought with pride. Now that I'm here I'll try to make it up to you as much as I can, but first there is some explaining to do. Man. I'm not going to go through the origin story as you all probably heard it before 1,000 times in other stories as well as the manga. So I'll just sum it up in a few sentences. And explain he did from the initial sealing of the Kyuubi at the hands of the first Hokage and his wife, through his mother's life up until the night of his birth, when the supposed immortal Uchiha Madara appeared and kidnapped Kushina and ripped Kyuubi from the seal, and cast a Jinjutsu on it to attack the Leaf Village, after taking a newborn Naruto hostage. Throughout everything Naruto stood there and listened to everything amazed at the truth that had been kept secret from him, and at the end did something Minato didn't expect. He turned and walked straight through the bars of Kyuubi's cage, before bowing at the waist. I'm sorry. He said whilst still facing the floor. What? Kyuubi asked intelligently, causing Minato to snort and cover his mouth to muffle the laughter, causing Kyuubi to growl at him. I said I'm sorry, when I first met you I screamed at you and demanded you chakra as rent, so to speak. I assumed you were a monster who could only cause destruction. But a monster is not intelligent, it can't speak or reason. Gee, thanks for the compliment, Kyuubi deadpanned, caused Minato to muffle his renewed laughter and Kyuubi to growl warningly at him again. You didn't let me finish. Well, a monster can't do those things, you can. You can speak and hold conversations, you are intelligent and you were used. I blamed you for everything wrong in my life, and I now realize you are as much a victim as me. You were controlled by this Madara guy and forced to attack us. So I'm sorry for everything that's ever happened to you, and I would like to start again if you would like to. Nobody's ever said sorry to me before. Could he be the one you were talking about? Kyuubi thought as he just continued to stare down at Naruto until he stood upright again and looked straight at the Kyuubi and gave a face-splitting smile. I'm Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Would you like to be friends? He said, raising his arm up and out in front of him, palm facing forwards. Kyuubi lowered his eye to Naruto's level before asking, how can I trust you? Naruto just smiled again and replied, cause I'll help you get that Madara guy. Kyuubi's eyes widened before for the second time in history, his eyes softened to a look of compassion before closing completely, and he pushed his snout against Naruto's outstretched palm. Kurama. What? My name is Kurama no Kyuubi. Naruto just smiled again. Minato's heart swelled with pride to see the level of maturity Naruto was displaying at this point and to hear his son introduce himself with his last name, as well as his mother's. So Naruto said quietly, you knew my mother? HMPH, hardly. The only time she ever came to me was to basically tell me to stay quiet and ignore her. I never saw her again in my time sealed within her, responded Kurama in a tone that stated they were obviously not close. Still, if you wish to know about her life as a Jinchuriki, then I can tell you she had a pleasant one, especially when. He was interrupted as there was a small flash from the seal and a womanly yelp was heard. When they looked behind them they saw a woman with long red hair mumbling about stupid husbands and half-baked seals before she looked up and made eye contact with said stupid husband and his stupid seal. Minato. Kushina. Minato. Kushina. Mom. Naruto. Mom. Naruto. Arg, stop, my brain hurts, goddammit. Kyuubi. I said stop. Kurama shouted, getting a headache from the back and forth between the tiny humans. He sometimes imagined them with tiny squeaky voices, so that arg he was getting distracted, now he needed to stay focused. Yondaine, why is she here? Well, it wouldn't be fair if only I got to see Naruto one last time, so I sealed a portion of her chakra as well to help Naruto if and when he attempted to take control of your chakra. Said Minato in a guilty voice. Kurama just looked annoyed. But I don't understand how you're here, Kushina. Naruto isn't taking control, and even if he was he would need the key, and that's with Jiraiya. Why does Iro Sennin have a key to Kuruma's chakra? Naruto asked, confused. Long story, he's your godfather, tell you later. Minato said, quickly thinking of a reason why Kushina could be forced from the seal like that. Surprisingly, Naruto was the one to come up with an answer first. Maybe it's because me and Kurama are friends now. So when we accepted each other the seal thought I was trying to take control and spat out mum. That's probably right, well done Naruto. Naruto just smiled at his dad before turning to look at Kushina, who was staring straight at him as she had done since she realized he was there. His smile turned nervous when he realized he was being observed and scrutinized. So hi. He said nervously. Kushina just smiled back and Naruto knew without a doubt that this was his mother. No one could smile at him with that amount of love and caring in their expression other than a possible future lover. She then ran straight at Naruto before sliding on her knees and sweeping him up in the most tender embrace he'd ever felt from someone, not that he had much experience with tender embraces. More like blows to the head, he thought sarcastically, why in Kurama's name do I even like Sakura? Oh yeah, cause she was popular in the academy, when the hell did I delude and convince myself that she was pretty and a great ninja? The only thing that she got going for her at the moment is her book smarts and chakra control, then a thought that had been bugging him came to the surface. Hey dad, I've noticed that I'm thinking a lot more clearly lately and actually make plans to fight instead of charging, and a lot of stuff I didn't know or realize I do know. Is that because you're here? Minato smiled awkwardly before replying, well kind of, I'm the reason, but it's not because I'm here, you kind of have a bloodline I guess. Before Naruto could react, he was lifted up and twirled in the air as he heard a very high-pitched noise from his mother along the lines of squee. Before suddenly being put down hurriedly and a red-faced Kushina apologizing for the scene, Naruto just laughed it off and said he enjoyed it and it was nice to be hugged by her. Causing her tears to start all over again and resume the hugging. Minato once again stood by and thanked his lucky stars that he got to see this. Kushina was orphaned after her first home Yasushi Agakure was destroyed and she had always wanted to have children of her own and never leave them alone like she was, but events conspired against her wishes. Kushina finally let what was happening sink in and decided some questions were in order. Hold on. How does my Musuko have a bloodline? I don't have one, as the Uzumaki longevity is not really a bloodline, and if you do then you never told me about it. Kushina said accusingly, causing Minato to sweat. Well that's because I kinda didn't know about it. He said, watching Kushina's eyes steadily narrow with each word. Because you didn't know about it? Something that could potentially harm any of my future children I would have and you didn't know about it? Naruto was on cloud 9 to hear he had a bloodline. In your face Sasuke team. At this point he was looking anywhere but at his newly discovered parents and their now heated discussions on secrets in a marriage before he heard everything go quiet. He turned around to see his parents kissing passionately and instantly was grossed out and cleared his throat loudly. Excuse me too sen, I understand you haven't seen mum in 13 years, but my bloodline. There was an eep. As Kushina jumped from Minato's grip and turned bright red, he mum's doing the same thing as Hinata, holy shit. Naruto thought as his mind went into overdrive before hearing his dad clear his throat. I am Suo talking to her when I see her next. Oh yeah right. Your bloodline is actually above us Kushina, and Naruto looked up to see the giant glowing orb of Hiraishin chakra floating near the ceiling. Kushina immediately recognized the lighting and asked if it really was what she thought I was, to which Minato confirmed her guess. The thing is it's a little different, well I had to use my tri-pronged kunai as an anchor point, Naruto has the advantage of a seal-based Dijutsu. Yada. Exclaimed Naruto in glee, take that Sasuke team. Not just a bloodline but a Dijutsu. Actually Naruto, it's a chakra-based eye-based bloodline. The chakra is special as it is based on my time-space teleportation technique I was famous for. Sugoi. I can teleport. Oh yeah I rock. Naruto was now bouncing around and off walls in his excitement to the news before Minato managed to grab him and bring him to a standstill. Now listen Naruto, I need you to concentrate chakra to your eyes, you should feel them change. Almost like you have liquid pouring into your very eyes. Naruto got serious and did so before gasping at the sensation, it was almost soothing. He looked into his reflection in the water around his feet and was amazed that his pupil had changed to a seal. That seal is of my design for when I created the technique. Although it is subtly different as it is keyed to your blood not mine, this should hold true for any children you have in the future. Kushina saw her opportunity to get a question in. How do you know all this already? Well you see, Minato stalled for time, only around his wife was he this idiotic. When it awakened Naruto kinda passed out from the pain in the Chunin exams and then Konoha was attacked by Orochimaru, so I kinda went for a test drive, so to speak, and do some field research on it. Kushina for the 1000th time during this conversation saw right at the stupidity of her supposed genius husband. Let me get this right. You took control of our son's body, my baby, so you could go for a test drive and have fun. What is wrong with you? Minato ended up behind Naruto, cowering at the sight of his Heim's wrath as her hair raised up and split into 9 segments. Bitch be biting my style, muttered Kurama, who had been all but forgotten in this discussion. I can explain my love, really. Screamed a panicked Minato. Kushina's whole demeanor instantly changed as her hair dropped back down and she smiled at him. Oh? Then please do explain, dear husband, I would so like to hear your reasons for it. Naruto by this point was shaking in fear along with his father, completely ignoring the fact that he was still the human meat shield for his father against his mother's wrath. He was terrified of how quickly her attitude changed. It was then that Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze decided that he would never, ever, piss off his mother intentionally anyway. He was about to be murdered by Odo Nin. It was only because I took control that he survived and managed to fight off the attackers and help the Sandaime. Kushina looked at his seriously before sighing and agreeing he did the right thing, causing both Namika's men to let out sighs of relief. She then continued with the questions. So how did you develop this bloodline then, and why has Naruto-kun only just awakened it? Well, before I answer that, you must promise me something, my love. That depends on what I have to promise. You must promise that you will not attempt to kill or maim me, Naruto, Kurama. Boo. Naruto butted in here. Oh yeah, you don't know yet, do you? Come over here. Oh, I'm being included again, am I? Huh? Never mind. Naruto continued. Oh okay. Mummy Kurama no Kyuubi, the nine-tailed fox. You have a name. Why didn't you tell me? Kushina asked, slightly offended. You weren't exactly nice when we were together, so to speak, and plus you never asked, Kurama stated like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Relax, Kas, and you got him all wrong. He is a victim of circumstance just like me. You should apologize and start again. No need, Naruto, your apology was more than enough. Consider it water under the bridge, little Miss Tomato, Kurama said with a smirk. Tomato? Naruto asked. Oh. In the arcade. It's nothing. Kushina butted in hurriedly with a light blush, embarrassed by the fact that she was quite pudgy when she entered the academy. Minato chuckled, remembering what the Kyuubi was talking about, but quickly stopped when Kushina rounded on him, her hair playing up. I'll be good, he squeaked out quickly. WHTCH. Kurama made a whip sound while flicking his tail through the air, making Naruto giggle. He knew what that meant. Minato scowled and cleared his throat before continuing, as I was saying, you may not get into a rage after my explanation is done, promise her I will not tell you. Fine, I promise, Kushina huffed and crossed her arms. But now, from what me and Kurama discussed after I gave control back to Naruto, I came to the conclusion that I developed this bloodline during the Third Ninja War in the battle, where I earned my moniker the Yellow Flash. After I had eliminated close to 500 Iwanin, I had to immediately suppress a lot of trauma or risk going catatonic right there on the battlefield. That's why as soon as I got home, I came straight to you and held you for 2 days, so to speak. He coughed, not wanting to key Naruto into what he meant by held. Kushina also blushed. Luckily Naruto was concentrating on the story too much. Anyhow, as I fought against the trauma with thoughts of you, I noticed that my arm was still alive with Horatian lightning. Looking back at this point, I can 90% confirm that's when it merged with my DNA, creating the Kekai Genkai no Raijin, bloodline of the Thunder God. I thought nothing of it obviously and didn't notice because I had always used it. So I assume it was because of the trauma I sustained that caused the reaction. Now during the Chunin exam, I can only assume that from what Kurama has told me, Naruto, you were not treated as a hero like I asked. Naruto looked down and depressed that his father knew about that. What do you mean he wasn't treated as a hero? He contained an enraged Kurama. Kushina exclaimed in panic. No, Mom. Naruto said in a low voice, the entire older generation found out I was a Jinchuriki somehow and saw me as Kurama reborn. I was banned from some shops and overcharged in the rest. I hide on my birthdays because the Kyuubi festival gets the villagers in a rage at me if they see me. Because of this, most of my generation copy their parents, so I don't have very many friends. But I did find some people who liked me. Kushina just hugged the now crying Naruto with tears once again in her own eyes as Minato joined them. Kushina just held on as she whispered sweet nothings in his ear while rubbing small circles on his back. I'm here, Koichi. I'm here, my little Naru-kun. Naruto had never felt so safe than when he was held in between his mother and father, so he reveled in the comfort they gave. Feel better? She asked after his tremors had died down. He nodded into her neck. Can we stay like this, please? I feel safe and Dad can continue his story. Of course we can, son. Now where was I? Oh yes, on the day of the Chunin exams were the villagers particularly nasty. Naruto nodded. And it got to you, didn't it? Another nod. So you were remembering what they had done in the past and were suppressing trauma. In other words, you caused a subconscious need to escape and your bloodline activated. Do you remember anything? I felt like I was on fire. That was the bloodline awakening. It was then that I was drawn out of the seal and started my own investigation into what had happened. Now that it is fully awakened, we won't need to worry about any future generations having to experience that kind of awakening. It should just activate as they mature. But that they all stood up and began to get ready to sleep. But before Naruto could leave to sleep, Kushina yelped in surprise as her hand began to fade. Minato! She screamed in fear. No. Minato started to panic. How could he be so stupid? She wasn't connected to the Horatian, so she was running on her own limited chakra. It only lasted this long because she wasn't using it to fight. Hurry, try to connect with the Horatian orb. He exclaimed hurriedly. She ran for the orb with her hand outstretched, but was shocked before being flung away. And Naruto ran over frantically before seeing the look of despair on her face. I just got you back, please don't go, as he started to cry again. Hush, Koichi, it will be alright, you'll have your father here. She tried to comfort Naruto but to no avail. But I want you as well. Cried Naruto. Minato just stood by helplessly trying to think of something anything. Minato, bring her here quickly. Minato and Naruto looked at Kurama to see the serious look in his eyes. Minato wasted no time in picking up his fading Heime's body and running into the cage followed by Naruto. Naruto, I need you to place one hand on me and one on your mother's stomach, make skin contact. Naruto wasted no time in doing as told but asked what he was planning. Your mother was my second container, she is used to siphoning of my chakra. If I can use you as an intermediary I should be able to set up a chakra link with her, allowing her to live off of my chakra while residing inside the seal with me. She should survive. However, should you ever revive her in the waking world then she will not be able to wield large amounts of chakra ever again. But she would live if that is enough for you. It is done. Both men watched as Kushina's arm reappeared at the shoulder and solidified again before her eyes flickered open. Hey, she said weakly as she saw Naruto as a bungling mess of tears and snot. Am I in heaven now? No, KKK Kurama-kun SSS saved you, cried Naruto. Oh thanks, Kurama-kun was all she managed before she passed out. Naruto dried his tears before charging at Kurama and hugging whatever part of his body he could reach. What are you doing? I am a Biju, I don't hug. Release me. Naruto chuckled as he released Kurama's tail. Can't I do anything to repay you? You're helping with Madara, that is enough. No, it isn't. Not for this, replied Naruto. In that case, could you make this seal chamber more pleasant? A sower isn't exactly nice to sleep in. Naruto deflated a bit and said, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do that. You should be able to, Naruto-kun, said Minato from Kushina's side. This is your mind after all. All you have to do is concentrate. Okay, Naruto said before closing his eyes, taking a deep breath and concentrating. Suddenly the bars and sower disappeared, leaving all four of them in blackness. Then the Horatian bowl reappeared and rose high above them before a blue sky and grass appeared overhead and underfoot. Trees sprouted from the ground and rivers carved out paths towards the horizon. Mountains rose in the background, creating a truly wondrous view. And after everything, a lovely-looking cabin rose out of the ground, complete with smoking chimney and ninja training ground. Wow, Kurama stated in an amazed tone. That's my boy, Minato whispered, but Naruto heard it nonetheless and opened his eyes with a smile. Did the cabin appear? He asked before looking around and spotting it. There should be a nice big bed inside that along with everything else. He'll come back in the morning. Good night, Naruto said with a smile as Minato picked up Kushina, thanked him for his thoughtfulness and gave Naruto a kiss on the forehead before heading inside. So what do you think, Kurama? I think this is the beginning of a great friendship, Naruto. Well, it's not over yet, follow me, Naruto said walking towards the forest. In this forest you'll find nice big deer for you to hunt if you want to, and somewhere around here here it is. They came into a clearing to see a nice white marble pedestal with a purple velvet cushion on it, so large Kurama could easily curl up in it. Now you can sleep in style. This is by far the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me, Kurama said, genuinely touched at the thought Naruto put into this new seal world. Tomorrow I shall look for these deer you talked about. I haven't tasted anything in so many years. But for now I sleep in style, as you so put it. Oh yay, and if you want to fight anything just give me a shout and I'll see what I can cook up, and with that Naruto went to sleep for real after a long and emotionally draining night. So, yay. My longest chapter, what did you think? I would actually like a review with a response to the following questions. Go to my profile and vote with the polls on there. How do you feel about taking the Yuzu from Uzumaki, which roughly translated is whirlpool, and the K's from Namikaze, which means wind, and combine them to make the surname? Uzumaka's meaning whirlpool wins for Naruto. Or should I just keep him as Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze? Should I get Danzo arrested in the next chapter and get him out of the way? I really don't like him, but I want you all to have an input in some way. Chapter 5. A Budding Love. Naruto woke up the next morning feeling like a new man, well boy. But still there was some doubt, so the first thing he did was go into his bathroom and attempt to put chakra into his eyes. To his joy he watched as a seal replaced his pupil and he proceeded to do a happy dance around his room before realizing something. His pajamas only came halfway down his forearm. He had grown about an inch overnight. Not wasting any time, he immediately went to eat breakfast and looked around for something to wear that would fit before trying to enter the seal. He sat in the middle of his bedroom before closing his eyes and envisioning the cabin he made for his parents. When he opened his eyes he saw Kuruma lying down in the field sunning himself and proceeded to greet him before going to the cabin. Before he could even get out a hello he was glumped by his over-emotional mother and dragged to the kitchen where she ranted about their first family meal ever, stuck in a damned seal world or not. Naruto had no complaints, he was just happy he had his mom and dad back. That changed when something other than ramen was put in front of him. When he asked why they can't have ramen, Kushina looked up in shock and asked if that's what he always had. Well yay, why not? I can't cook and it's the only thing I can fit in my microwave. Plus it's the best food in the world. he said, not understanding what the problem was. He soon realized that his mother wanted him to have a better diet if being shouted at and chased around the kitchen was any indication of the fact. Minato just sat there with a smile on his face until Kushina asked him to back her up on the diet argument, and so did Naruto. When he said ramen, they both got jazzed around the kitchen by an angry Kushina who was ranting about unhealthy diets and idiot husbands and sons. But dear, you love ramen, don't you? Minato tried in one last-ditch effort to placate his wife. Yes. But I wouldn't have it for every meal that is just unhealthy for my Naru-kun, he a growing boy. In the end, both men ended up with anime welts on their heads and a smiling Kushina happily eating breakfast. WHTCH was heard from outside and both men scowled at the window. Oh, there was something I forgot about last night, Naruto. Minato said, turning to his son, you asked if I'm the reason you're thinking more clearly. It because of the lightning chakra from the thunder god bloodline, the lightning has supercharged the electrical impulses along the nerves connected to your brain, increasing its productivity and bringing all retained information to the front of your mind, allowing you to remember all that you've been taught. Sweet. Naruto said before getting swatted round the head. Don't talk with you mouth full, Koichi. Hi, sorry Kasan. Now on to more serious business. You need to go see Hiruzen after breakfast and ask him about your inheritance. You'll need all that we left you if you want get serious training done, and also you're going to need my research materials for looking for a way to get us out of here," said Minato in a business tone. Inheritance. Awesome, Naruto exclaimed before being lightly bopped again on the head by his father. This is important, Naruto, please listen. Hi, sorry, Naruto replied while rubbing his head with an embarrassed look on his face. Good. Now, when you get there you must tell him code 66 Hokage's eyes only to get him on his own, he'll know what it means. You must do this so Kurama can release a burst of condensed chakra, the Anbu that guard him wouldn't survive it otherwise. This should make sure you're not being listened to and be safe for you to tell him about everything last night, then ask about the inheritance and get the location of mine and your mother's old home. It's a large apartment in the Central Market District. And? I think a large family apartment would suit better than a mansion, don't you think? I like to be a little realistic. Plus the fact the flashback scenes of their home when Jiraiya visits appear to look like an apartment. You'll have to find my idea book amongst mine and your mother's stuff, it has all my idea and jutsu experiments. That should give you a head start on ideas for ways to revive us. Well then I guess I should get started, Naruto said before finishing his last bit of food and getting up. See you later. Not so fast, mister. Mom? Those were your father's jobs for you today, I have some of my own. You need to go shopping and get some proper food so I can teach you how to cook. I will not have my son eating nothing but ramen, no matter how much we love it. But mom. It's ramen. Exclaimed Naruto in despair and desperation. No buts. You will have a balanced diet or so help me Kami, you'll be in trouble. Kushina stated with rising anger causing her hair to start to split. Naruto seeing this instantly gave in fearing what his mother could do to him. Hi, shopping, I'll get right on that. His head hung low, Naruto agreed in a defeated voice. Kushina just beamed in triumph. Good boy, you can go have ramen for lunch as a reward. Yada. Thanks mom. Naruto immediately glumped her around her waist. You're welcome, she then gave him a kiss on the forehead and pushed him out the door. When Naruto opened his eyes he was up like a shot. Grabbing his trusty frog wallet and shoes, he added new clothes to an already large shopping list before running out the door to the Hokage's tower. Arriving outside the Sandame's door, Naruto took a breather from the run here and calmed down before kicking the door open. Hey Gigi. He shouted at the top of his voice. Naruto, how are you, stated the Sandame from his new wheelchair completely unfazed. Naruto's face fell at the sight and he turned sad. Now, don't pull that face, I'm perfectly fine, Sarutobi said to try and cheer up the sad boy. You sure you're feeling fine? No pain? Questioned the blonde genin, perking up a bit. Of course I am. These old bones have got life in them yet, don't you worry, damn right they do. So you're not in any pain? They don't hurt at all? Naruto asked, walking forward with a small smile appeared on his face. It does hurt and I am in considerable pain, but that is expected of the injuries I have sustained. But at least this means I'm finally retiring. You're retiring? Why? Naruto panicked while Sarutobi laughed out loud at him. Look at me Naruto, I'm basically a paraplegic. If I try to move my legs it causes me considerable pain. I can't very well protect my village while sat in a wheelchair, can I? No, I didn't think so. So who is going to be the new Hokage? Asked a now envious Naruto, who knew he wasn't going to be chosen. That will be discussed at the council meeting this afternoon, so you will find out then. Do you remember what time it is? Remember, you must be there to give a report on the one-tailed Jinchuriki. Hi, I remember, 3 o'clock, and don't worry, it'll be ready for anything the bastard council asks, count on it. That's what I like to hear. So anyways, why are you here so early in the morning? Huh? Oh yay. I've been told to tell you Hokage code 66, whatever that is. Saratobi's face was instantly cooled as he barked out an order. And believe us. Naruto watched as all around the room 5 men materialized from the walls and ceiling before bowing and disappearing in a puff of smoke. Now Naruto, explain where you heard that. Saratobi asked while thinking, I do hope I was imagining it during the invasion, this is a bit too much. Before that, Gigi, I need to do something, please don't be afraid, I'm in control, I promise, Naruto said before he thought ready Kurama. All of a sudden the room was bathed in a sinister red glow as Kurama attempted to overload anything in the room listening in. All of a sudden 4 pops and a thud were heard and Hiruzen watched as small wisps of smoke appeared from points around the office and an Anbu fell from the bookcase on the left. Oh no, I killed an Anbu. Naruto exclaimed while running over to the body while Hiruzen stared in shock at the mask that had fallen from the Anbu's face. Rude, finally I have that evidence, Danzo, you sneaky little ninja you. Oh hey, he's still alive, ain't that great? Naruto said, observing the now very much alive but very passed out man. Hey, he's got a cool tattoo on his tongue. What? Let me see. Saratobi wheeled himself over and looked at the man whose tongue was lolling out of his open mouth as the mask had fallen off as he hit the floor. Saratobi dispelled the seal before calling his Anbu back in. Or, Inu, take this traitor to Inoichi, I want him to have everything he can find inside his mind on Danzo within the next 2 hours. Hi Hokage-sama, said the two before grabbing the rude Anbu and leaving. Crane, Monkey, I want all the counselors apart from Danzo, inform that the meeting is being held at 1 o'clock and not 3. They again left in a puff of smoke after nodding. Brat, go and gather 4 squads from the barracks. I want you to then head over to T&I and see if Inoichi gets anything from our new friend. If Danzo has a base, I want it raided. If he has records, I want them seized. I want to know if he has even sneezed on the toilet, if it's in any way relevant to his underhanded activities, understand? Hi Hokage-sama. I will report immediately after it is complete. And with that, it was once again just Naruto and Saratobi in the room. Wow, Gigi, that was awesome. He still got it, he thought before looking at Naruto again. Thank you, Naruto, in less than a week you have been instrumental in combating 2 threats to Konoha. You should be proud. Naruto puffed out his chest and acted all big before remembering why he was here. Oh yeah, Gigi, can I tell you why I'm here now? Of course, come and have a seat. So tell me what you wanted to. It only took a couple of minutes for Naruto to sum up to Saratobi about everything that was discussed last night, and at the end his jaw was in his lap. So let me get this straight, you have your father's best technique as a bloodline, he is alive as well as your mother, and they are with Kyuubi or rather Kurama inside your seal, and they say that everything that happened 13 years ago was because of Madara Uchiha, who has found a way to gain immortality and has been in hiding all these years, plotting revenge, is that everything stated the Sandaemin? Aw. Mom and Dad said something about inheritance. Naruto said, hoping to hear what was left to him. Saratobi smacked his forehead for forgetting that particular detail. Ah yes, your inheritance, well first of all it'll give you the location of their apartment that they left to you. Everything is locked up in there, nothing has been moved and what was is in boxes in the front room. To find it you will need to get past the genjutsu put on the door to make people ignore it, here's the address where it should be. All you have to do is place some blood on the door and it should key to you and open. You also have a substantial amount of money that I have been leaking to you to provide your rent and living expenses, it'll make that yours officially later today and make all funds available to you. Sweet, I am rich. Naruto jumped out of his chair and hugged the Sandaime before shouting about using it for the groceries and clothes that he needed. Naruto, why do you need clothes? Come to think of it, where is your jumpsuit? Oh yay. It's the weirdest thing, but I think my bloodline caused me to grow an inch or two. All my clothes were too small this morning and this was all that fit me. Hiruzen frowned before wheeling himself over to the cabinets at the side of his office before rummaging around and pulling out a file. While he rummaged, he talked with Naruto. You shouldn't need clothes, your father's from when he was your age are still in some boxes at the apartment. Aha. He exclaimed before opening it and glancing at it, then glancing at Naruto and repeating this twice before nodding and asking, you were about 4.5 inches tall before, right? Yay, so? You're now about 5.5 now. A bit under what your father was at that age, still the clothes should fit, find something nice for the council meeting. Now that I look at you, you appear to have put on some muscle as well. Really? I didn't notice that. Naruto quickly went to the full body mirror so that he could flex and look at himself. Huh, you're right. My whole body is more defined. I love this bloodline. You can use words like defined now, can you? Saratobi queried in an amused tone. Hey Gigi, that was mean. And I already explained my bloodline does something to my brain. I'm still not smart enough to understand, but I can think a lot more clearly now and with some study it'll be around Inara's level, Dad says. Really? Then you would become quite smart indeed. Almost Hokage smart. What? Really? Naruto said, rushed to Hiruzen and looked at him excited. Oh yes, but you would have to study every day to learn a lot. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll be one step closer to taking that hat from the next Hokage then. The Sandaime smiled and gave himself a pat on the back for giving Naruto the proper drive to actually do the studying. Oh, and Naruto, can Minato take control again? It would help for him to make an appearance in the meeting to prove he really is in there, or maybe Inoichi could come to your mind and verify it for the council. But we'll not just take our word for it, you know. Naruto didn't answer immediately, instead he asked Minato. What do you think, Dad? Can you make an appearance? He said in his mind. I think that you have to be unconscious for that to work. Just send Inoichi and he can confirm it for the stupid council. Okay, thanks. Minato smiled as Naruto cut the connection and stood up from the porch of the cabin before Kushina came out of the front door and began to drag him inside. He thought he was in trouble before she said, I know for a fact you read all Jiraiya's books, Min-kun. Now either you put that knowledge to use or I will bar you for the rest of your life. Minato picked her up and was in a bedroom in a flash while grinning like a madman. And? Ha, you though that was a lemon, didn't you? Lolts, not until later maybe. Depends on the status of the stupid content ban. Naruto thought he heard his mother giggle but shook it off before opening his eyes. Dad said, get the Inoichi guy to come say hi for that stupid council. He smiled when Hiruzen chuckled at the council remark. Anyways, I've got 5 hours to kill, so I'll do the shopping and check out the apartment by Gigi. And Naruto ran out the door, not even waiting for a reply. Naruto soon arrived at the apartment complex after getting the shopping his mother wanted him to do. Getting his clones to carry stuff over here from his old place was a stroke of genius. But upon finding and entering the place, he found them hard at work trying to get the place clean. Hey minions, where's all the stuff from the old place? He asked the clones before one looked up and said didn't need it, we kept the important stuff, but everything else was crap compared to the stuff here, so we chucked it with the clothes. Also Dad's clothes are awesome, they fit like a glove. Naruto smiled at that and went straight to his bedroom to change. Luckily some earlier clones had dispelled, so he knew his way around already and the place was fully explored. His parents' room was the largest and was cleaned first, as he wanted to make sure he found anything important to help keep it safe, like the books labeled dating, wedding and pregnancy. The one labeled family was blank. They were immediately put in a safe place. The next was his room and he loved it. Nice sky blue walls and a full wall wardrobe, so he could keep all his ninja gear in one end and his clothes in the other. There was room for his desk and his bed after he dismantled the crib and changing table and put them in the hall cupboard at the request of his mother. The living room and kitchen were spacious and bright with big windows and a 4th-floor balcony that looked out over the market district. The best thing of all was Ichiraku's was visible from here, so it would be a quick roof hop away. Deciding that an early celebratory munch at his favorite place to eat was in order, he went and got dressed from a selection of his dad's child clothes, a white hoodie, baggy black shorts and black sandals, and left his clones to finish cleaning before heading over the roofs and landing in the street outside Ichiraku's and entering while shouting. Hi Amni. Hinata had been looking for Naruto all morning. During the Chunin exams she had lip-read him with her Byakugan while he told Neji his story. She had run from the stands in tears after hearing the story of his younger life. She had returned later on only to see him suffer some kind of attack from some yellow lightning before being declared unfit to continue and being taken away to the infirmary by his sensei. It had now been 2 days and she wanted to see if he was okay. The only problem was he wasn't anywhere he usually was. She checked all over, his favorite training ground, Ichiraku Ramen, and when she went to his apartment and looked inside with her Byakugan, it was empty. She was on her way home in desperation when she heard it. Thanks Amni-chan, Jai-chan, I'll see you later. She turned to look back up the road and saw him coming out of the ramen stand she checked earlier. She then flooded the street with drool. Oh my Kami, he's gorgeous, she screamed in her mind as he left ramen stand and walked in her direction. She had noticed the new clothes and his height and muscle increase instantly. The perks of watching him all the time. She instantly hid and stalked track observe walked in the same direction as him. Yes, that would work just behind him and a considerable distance away. She watched him as he made his way toward the central district's apartment complex. Naruto was enjoying his walk back without a care in the world before his mother contacted him. Koichi, Kurama says that there is a presence following you, but he detects no ill intent. Thanks for the heads up mom, Kurama, he replied before turning to a shop window and pretending to observe the window display while looking in the reflection to spot his stalker. That's when he spotted Hinata. Oh crap, it's Hinata-chan. I forgot about her. He thought, panicking a bit. Naruto-kun, calm down. Who is this Hinata-chan? Kushina asked in anticipation, already suspecting something. She's a girl from my academy class. Last night when I saw you blush because you were embarrassed about something, Kuruma said, I realized that when she does it around me, it was because she likes me. Mom, what do I do? Naruto explained quickly, trying to think of something. Honestly, you're just as dense as your father was. This is your problem Koichi, I can't help you with it, but I would suggest talking to her about it. Trying confronting her. And with that Kushina cut the connection before Naruto could protest. Okay, confront her, that's a start, he thought. He began to walk again, thinking of ways to get her alone, then it hit him, his bloodline. He just had to surprise her, grab her and take her somewhere quiet. Somewhere quiet, he stared and thought, thinking of somewhere quiet, staring at his dad's head on the Hokage monument, that's it. He thought. Immediately putting his plan into action, he turned down the next alley and then turned around and hurried to the opposite roof to alley entrance and waited. Hinata stopped and hid behind a market cart. When he stopped and looked into a shop window, whatever it was, he must have been interested because he was there for a while before suddenly moving on. Further down the street he disappeared down an alley. She waited for a moment before approaching the corner and peeking round, he wasn't there. She entered the alley and made her way down in it. She got halfway down it before a hand reached around her waist and a voice whispered against her ear, "You shouldn't follow people like that." Before she felt a pulling sensation and the hold slackened. She instantly broke free and spun around, planting a panic double palm strike to the gut, sending her attacker flying away. There was an oof. Before she heard a voice she didn't expect. "Kami Hinata-chan, you hit hard." Her heart stopped at the sound of that voice and eyes flew open. "And Nani? And Naruto-kun. Hey Hinata-chan, nice swing, sorry if I scared you." Inside the seal all three inhabitants were effectively passing out from laughter. It's alright, Jay, just don't do it again please," she muttered quietly. Naruto noticed this and thought, oh no, she's already getting embarrassed. "I gotta say something to Hinata-chan, I actually brought you up here for something. It about that talk we had before my Chunin match against Niji. What about it? I figured out why you blush around me and always hide and faint." "Nani? Why you know? Oh my Kami, he is going to reject me and I haven't even said it," she thought in despair. "Yes I know, and I brought you here to tell you that there's something you should know about me if you do." I think I know what you're going to say, and I already can know too." "You do?" Naruto exclaimed in a panic. She nodded. "And you still?" She nodded again. "Then I have to ask you to do something for me." What is that?" "I need you to say it. Don't faint." She wobbled a bit before regaining her balance. Do I really have to?" Naruto thought for a moment before saying, "If you do without fainting I'll take you on a date tonight." "Naruto, I've loved you ever since the academy. I look to you for my strength and see you as a role model for the kind of ninja I wish to become. I feel that your will to never give up makes you one of a kind and I truly admire you with all my heart." She finished before stamping her foot and fighting not to faint and lose her dream. "Wow, congratulations, you earned yourself a picnic for two here, a sundown with me." Hinata wobbled again at the thought of that. "Hinata, well you can say that now, I'm only just finding out what it means to feel love. I hope I can say the same one day to you, but could you settle for I like you too?" "Why yes." "Great. Now do you want to know some more things about me?" "Oh of course." "Then come with me, we've got a council meeting to go to." "The council meeting?" "Yep," was all he said before grabbing her and jumping at the top of the monument. Naruto laughed as Hinata screamed at the top of her lungs before he activated the TG and using Hiraishin onto the roof with Hinata still in his arms. He gently put her down but kept an arm around her just in case. "PPPP please and never do that again." "Whatever you want Hinata-chan," he replied before making a clone and sending it off before walking inside with Hinata. Chapter end. Chapter 6. The Council. As Naruto walked towards the council chambers with Hinata, he was having talk with her about some things, explaining about everything she is likely to hear and see while attending the meeting. She was in awe of the fact that he had attained a bloodline and that his father was the Yondaime. "So are they trapped in there?" she asked while looking at his stomach as walked along. "Well for the moment yes they are. But I've got all of Dad's research notes and ideas at home. It's only a matter of time before I find a way to get them out. Plus while I'm not working on it, Dad will continue to research what I've found out," he said full of confidence while smiling at her. Hinata shyly smiled back and nodded. Unable to speak with him smiling at her like that. "Hey Hinata, how long have you liked me anyway?" Hinata turned cherry red at that and stuttered uncontrollably before getting herself in order. About since the start of the academy." "Really? Wow, I really was an idiot. Thank God for bloodlines." He smiled cheekily and rubbed the back of his head. "Hey, we're here," he exclaimed as they came to a stop before the big engraved wooden doors that separated the rest of the world from the chaos of politics. "Are why you sure I see can be here? Digi won't mind after I tell him you know everything. Trust me." "Oh okay." And with that Naruto pushed open the doors and strutted, causing all chatter in the room to stop and everyone to stare at them. "Why is that dem boy here?" exclaimed Sakiri Haruno, who was on the civilian council board. Ah, Naruto, you're here, very good. He is here, Councilwoman Haruno, because he directly pertains to today's topic, but why is young Hinata here as well, might I ask, Naruto? Don't worry, Gigi, Hinata-chan here already knows everything. The Sandame looks shocked. You told her yourself. Oh no, only the new stuff. She found out when I told Niji in the exams. She was watching with her Byakugan and lip read everything. Hinata just kept her head down, embarrassed that Naruto was saying all this so easily. Very well, she may stay, but understand, Hinata-san, that everything in this room stays in this room, do you understand? Hi Hokage-sama. She then hurried over and sat with Naruto behind the Shinobi Council. She noticed her father as she passed him. He had a surprised look on his face that his eldest actually knew about the boy and still talked to him. Now we may get underway with the first part of this meeting, the Hokage started. But Councilman Danzo and clan head Yamanaka have yet to arrive, spoke a civilian councillor. Danzo will not be joining us for this as the material I am about to discuss concerns him, and Inoichi-san will be with us shortly. Now, earlier this morning Naruto Uzumaki came to my office to discuss personal materials. Before he got underway, however, he used a personal code to let me know it was extremely private and asked the Anbu to leave the room. When I complied, he used a condensed burst of the Kyuubi's chakra. He can use the demon's chakra. He is dangerous and I demand he be dealt with. No such thing will happen. I always intended for him to learn to use it eventually. So it is good he has some grasp of it. It was also instrumental in getting rid of several security breaches in my own office. Shikaku Nara perked up from his seeming slumber at this remark. Forgive Hokage-sama, not one, but several security breaches. Indeed, the condensed chakra spike overloaded no less than 4 of what appeared to be eavesdropper seals placed around my office and a disguised Anbu not on my guard roster hiding in the bookcases. An assassin? Queried Hiashi Hyuga. No, a root agent. The clan council stiffened at that remark and whispered amongst themselves, while the civilian councillors look on confused. Forgive me, Hokage-sama, but didn't you order Danzo-sama to disband that program during your first tenure as Hokage? Troublesome, it's obvious that Danzo ignored that and kept the program running in the shadows. Shikaku stated like they should have known that. Even an academy student would have figured that out. So he has a shadow army at his beck and call. Surely we could take them on if they attacked, Sumin stated with confidence. Perhaps, but that won't be necessary. The Hokage said, leaning back in his wheelchair. As I was saying before, we were sidetracked. When myself and young Naruto investigated the routine, we came across a seal on his tongue and after breaking it sent him to T&I so Inoichi-san could get all the information he carried. Just then the doors opened again and in walked the Yamanaka clan head accompanied by an Anbu. As he took his seat, the Anbu went straight to the middle of the room, spoke. Hokage-sama, the mission was successful, he stated after bowing to the Sandame. Excellent, please report now for the whole council. Hi Hokage-sama, thanks to the efforts of Inoichi-sama on the prisoner, we discovered the location of Danzo's main base. The council murmured amongst themselves at this. But the squads I acquired, we managed to break in and get the jump on the base, neutralizing all resistance. We sustained 5 casualties while they suffered 15 dead and 30 captured. We then proceeded to investigate and came upon his. The Anbu paused here and had to be prompted by Inoichi to continue. We found the training center. Inside we found 18 children between the ages of 6 to 11, all we orphans or kidnapped from all over the Fire Nation. The whole council was shocked into silence to hear this. The program was designed to wipe all emotion from the inductees. These children were subject to things I will not repeat out loud here, but they will need severe psychological treatment at the hospital where they are now under guard. We found written orders by Danzo himself and we seized all files and cleared the base. All of these files indicated black ops throughout the elemental nations without your approval, some even shifting political power, some also directly conflicted with accepted missions from the village itself, resulting in mission failures. It is now being occupied by regular staffs under Anbu guard who are filtering through everything to determine what is useful to Konoha and what is evidence. That is all, Hokage-sama. Thank you, you may leave now. The Anbu bowed before vanishing. Everyone, now that you have heard this evidence against Danzo, please come to a decision on what to do with him. In the end the vote was unanimous. Danzo will be arrested and tried for his acts against the Leaf. When he arrives he will be arrested. How will you subdue him? Sandame-sama asked some civilian councillors. You shall find out, was the Hokage's reply. When Danzo finally arrived they were notified by an Anbu assigned to watch out for him. The doors opened and Danzo walked through with his cane and proceeded forward until he froze and a seal appeared on the floor underneath him. What is this? He exclaimed in surprise. A chakra suppression and paralysis seal courtesy of Jiraiya, said Hiruzen to his old teammate. Jiraiya materialized out of the shadows behind the Hokage, revealing himself to have been there the whole time. Danzo, evidence has been brought to light that you went against my express order to disband the Anbu root program. Continuing it underground as your own personal force that is conflicted with interests relevant to Konoha and its allies, how do you plead? I have only done what you were too spineless to do, Hiruzen. I protected this village from threats you tried to buddy up with. The Uchiha planning the coup for one was a problem you wanted to talk out. So I ordered it. For the good of the village. Everybody stopped at that. Hiruzen was shocked as well. He thought that Itachi took matters into his own hands. You ordered Itachi to kill his clan. That's it. Anbu put him in stasis and take him away. I want him in the darkest cell in the deepest part of our prison as possible. Keep him sedated for the rest of his life. I don't want him anywhere near my village again. Before anyone could say anything, Anbu came forward and placed a seal between his shoulder blades, causing him to go limp before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Now let us start with the real reasons for this meeting. Naruto, come forward please. Naruto got up and winked at Hinata playfully before walking into the middle of the room and waiting to be questioned. They started out with the main reason for the meeting, Naruto's fight with Gaara of the Sand. Following some advice from his parents, Naruto kept calm while he gave his on the fight. Of how he caught up with the other pursuit team to find them all pinned by sand to the surrounding trees before summoning the boss toad Gamabunta to help deal with the released one-tailed Biju Shukaku. When he finished, the Sandaime spoke again. Naruto, before we go any further, I would like to tell you what I'm going to reveal. I am only going to announce your lineage and introduce your new toy, so to speak, okay? The whole council began murmuring at the announcement of Naruto lineage, and many wondered what this new toy was. Adajiji, don't worry, I can handle that. Good. Now, honorable councillors, we are here today because myself and my student Jiraiya have kept a secret from you all since the Kyuubi attack 13 years ago, namely the true reason the Yondaime chose young Naruto as the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. It was not because he was an orphan as many believe, it was only after the attack was he orphaned. Before Hiruzen could continue, Shikaku interrupted. Troublesome, you mean to tell me I was right all along? Oh? Share your prediction then, Shikaku-san. If I'm right, then Naruto-san here was chosen as the Jinchuriki because he was the Yondaime's own son. As he said this, the entire shinobi side of the council gasped in realization, while the civilian council all denied it, screaming obscenities about the fact and calling it a lie. Silence. Hiruzen bellowed in an authoritative voice. Yes, Shikaku-san, you are correct. Naruto here is the son of the Yondaime. He was chosen because he was his son. Would any of you sacrifice your son or daughter, should he have asked? The civilian councillors all looked down at that before Sakiri Haruno spoke up again. He can be the fourth never married. She smiled, thinking she proved the lie before the Hokage cleared his throat. He did marry in fact, but in secret. We all know that the fourth has many enemies outside our walls, and should it be known he had a wife or son, they would be targeted. The certificate is here should you wish for proof. He married that harpy Kushina. Naruto exploded at this. Do not insult my mother, you screeching whore. You are more of a tramp than she ever could be. Everyone looked on in fascination as Sakiri was left speechless at the outburst from Naruto. The Ashi then spoke up from nowhere. Why didn't anyone see it? His mouth is just like hers. At this, Choza Akimichi barked out in laughter, agreeing with him. Now that is cleared up, I could like to add that Naruto has now inherited everything left to him by his parents. Now on to the second reason we are here and the whole point of his heritage being revealed. Naruto has inherited his father's bloodline. Once again everybody was wide-eyed and silent. But Minato never had a bloodline, said Shikaku, speaking up once again. Naruto, I believe you have it from here. The Sandaime said, handing over the reins of the conversation to Naruto. Thanks, Jiji. You're correct, Nara-sama. Shikaku, Nara-san makes me feel old. Sorry, but yes, Shikaku-sama, you are right. For the majority of his life my father did not have a bloodline. It was only during the Third Shinobi World War that it was born. Then why did he never use it? Questioned Tsuminyazuka. He did. Tsuminyazuka. Okiba's mom. Well, Tsum-sama, he had been using it, but he never noticed it because he had been using it as a technique for most of his adult ninja career. Shikaku once again got there first and spoke out. You mean the Hiraishin? The Hiraishin became his bloodline and that's what you inherited. Correct again, Shikaku-sama. Does anyone know how my father achieved his moniker the Yellow Flash? Inoichi spoke up this time. I believe that it was when he saved a force of Konoha nin against some 400 to 500 Iwa nin through using the Hiraishin. Yes, and on that day he developed the bloodline. He killed so many men and women in such a short time. Can you imagine, in 15 seconds ending the lives of close to 500 people? It scarred him inside, and he suppressed their looks of horror as they were helpless to defend themselves. A lot of the Shinobi Council nodded at this scene where Naruto was coming from. So this classes as a twofold Kekai Genkai. I have the alternate chakra source that allows me to use the Hiraishin, giving me a chakra-based Kekai Genkai and a Dijutsu, which I've decided to name the Rijingan or Thunder God's Eyes. This cuts out the need for my father's sealed kunai as a form of anchoring, where to appear through sealed kunai. Naruto then activated his eyes and turned to everyone in the room. With these eyes I can paint a Horatian seal on anything I'm looking at, providing me a limitless amount of areas to teleport to. He demonstrated by flashing behind the Hokage and back, finishing his explanation. There is something else the council needs to be aware of, however. When my father sealing the Kyuubi into me, he also sealed my mother's and some of his chakra. When I activated the bloodline, they were brought back to life inside the seal. Everyone apart from Naruto, Hinata, and the Sandaime gasped when this news was revealed. The Yondaime is alive inside the seal. Is there any way to prove this? It may be the Kyuubi trying to manipulate his way out, asked one council member. Naruto sighed in his head and thought, are you both ready for a visit? I guess so, this will be interesting to say the least, replied Minato from inside the seal. If Inoichi-sama would like to enter my mind, he could confirm my mother and father's presence. That should be enough proof, shouldn't it? Naruto said out loud while looking over at said clan head. I could do one better than that. I could use the Saishonaisha no Jutsu, mind projection technique, to show the entire council what is going on inside your mind, if you would like. Naruto looked to the Hokage, who nodded before agreeing and sitting down. Inoichi came forward before performing some hand seals and saying Saishonaisha no Jutsu. Inoichi appeared on his back in what appeared to be grass with a shadow cast over him. Yo Inoichi-sama. Bet you weren't expecting that rush when entering my mind. Turns out you had to be let in by Kyuubi's chakra as well as mine, lucky he let you, eh? Hey Jiji, can you hear me out there? Yes Naruto, we see you as well, look behind you. Naruto turned around and there was a screen of chakra floating there with the council peering through. Cool. Anyway, time to get up and meet my mom and dad. Inoichi-sama, this way. With that, Naruto turned and walked through the trees, forcing Inoichi to get up and follow. This is your mind, Naruto? Yeah, I only changed it yesterday though. Kyuubi used to be locked up in a sewer in a cramped cage. I didn't like it so I changed it, Naruto half lied. Better the council think he did it because of his tastes, rather than for Kurama. I'm impressed, it usually takes a lot of training to change your own mindscape to such an extent. Thank you. Oh look, this is where Kyuubi usually sleeps. They had come to the marble pedestal in the forest and nothing was there. Huh? He must be in the fields, Naruto said, looking around and nor seeing a mass of orange fur. Inoichi just followed, mouth open at how casual Naruto was being in talking about the Kyuubi. They eventually got to the edge of the forest and everybody in the council chamber's mouth dropped at what they saw. An unrestrained Kyuubi lazily sunning himself in the middle of the field. Inoichi held his breath and tried to keep as quiet as possible so as to not wake it, then Naruto shouted at it. Yo Fuzzy. Kurama lifted his head up lazily to look at him and noticed Inoichi, who immediately froze on making eye contact. Naruto then laughed. Relax Inoichi-san, you're not worth the effort to him. In response, Kurama just huffed and lay back down. See? Are you sure it's wise to provoke it like that? Inoichi spoke quietly. The boy is right, Kyuubi spoke out of nowhere. Only should you be deemed a threat to my container would I consider attacking you, although it wouldn't be much of an attack, more like stamping on an ant. He stated in a factual tone, then bared his fangs in a grin that made Inoichi freeze. Cut it out, Kyuubi, we're here to see mom and dad. As far as I am aware, they are both in the house preparing for you. Okay, thanks. Naruto said before walking round Kyuubi and carrying on without a second thought. Inoichi just looked at the Kyuubi and then the council to see their stunned faces before hurrying after Naruto. Yo dad, where are you? Naruto shouted, opening the front door to the cabin as Inoichi caught up. He honestly didn't expect to hear the voice he heard next. We're in the kitchen. He followed the Naruto to the origin of the voice and stopped dead to see a red head stood behind a man with her hand on his shoulder as he sat at the table. The council also gasped in response to seeing the man sat at the table. It really was the Yondaime. Naruto for one was secretly shocked at the change in his parents. Minato and Kushina both looked dead serious. Minato looked like he did in all the pictures he had seen when he was Hokage, regal, calm and serene, almost blank. His mother was just the same and only broke her expression to glance at Naruto and smile before schooling it again. Naruto decided to emulate them and blanked his own before taking a position next to his mother. With Inoichi and the screen with the council on it on the other side to the table. After a moment, Minato decided to start things off. As you can see, I and my wife are very much alive in here. And before anybody asks, Naruto is already researching how to find a way out for us both. Now I would like a question answered. Why was my final wish not heeded? I asked for Naruto to be seen as a hero, not vilified. It seems my trust in the village I love was misplaced, that they could do all that I have heart to a child. Forgive us, Hokage-sama, but we believed that he was the Kyuubi reborn. Had we known he was your son, everything would have been very different, one counselor stated with a worried tone. Kushina then spoke in a calm, authoritative voice that is beside the point. He would be just the same as any other used in the ceiling, yet he would have been treated differently had he been claimed as the Yondaime's. You are lucky my son held as much love for this village as we do, or he would have most likely given in to the Kyuubi's whispers at a young age, releasing him and destroying you all. You obviously had so little faith in my husband's abilities to have treated him the way you did. None of you understand the complexities of seals or their purpose. Minato placed a hand on hers that was on his shoulder to stop her getting any louder than she was getting and continued for her. My wife is correct. In treating my son the way you have been working towards your own destruction rather than preventing it. From now on my son's status will be known to the village. Let them know of the wrongs they have committed not just against Naruto, but also against me. Let them know that if they do not accept this, then their greatest leader will become their destroyer. He stated with a tone indicating he meant business. The council all gasped at this declaration and feared for their lives should the rest of the village not comply with this. Hiruzen then spoke up. You will not retake your title. No, this village does not deserve my leadership. Should I be revived into the world, then I will spend the time as a home ninja and spend it with my family. I will only take the highest priority missions for the village. Should this happen, he spoke with finality, indicating he would not budge on the issue. Jiraiya then spoke up for the first time since Danzo's arrest. So I will have to get Tsunade back after all. He said, coming forward from the shadows and looked to the chakra screen to see Minato, averting his eyes from him and Kushina glaring daggers. Ah yes, Jiraiya. I hope you complete whatever you have planned because you will be getting your punishment from me directly. It is only because of Minato and his history with you that I do not kill you outright when I get out of here. I trusted you with Minato's consideration and asked you to be Naruto's godfather and guardian should something happen to us. I trusted you with my son's well-being should I not be able, and you have failed me. You have failed us. Kushina had to stop a tear at this point, and Minato still had not looked up. Where have you been during his childhood? You attempted no contact whatsoever. I will never forgive you for that, but I will, at the mercy of Minato, give you a chance at redemption. You will train my son till we are both free of this seal and accept your punishment without fuss or distractions, or you will be stricken from our family and our lives. Do I make myself clear? Jiraiya, to his credit, kept himself composed apart from a single tear as he bowed at the waist and agreed to the conditions. I plan to do just that anyway. I will take him to search for Tsunade for a start. We will leave tonight. No, you will leave tomorrow. My Koichi has a promise to keep tonight and I will make sure he keeps it. Naruto looked confused for a split second before catching a glimpse of a quickly reddening Hinata and his mind clicked. He grinned stupidly at the thought of him and Hinata having the picnic tonight. Very well, I will prepare to leave tomorrow. I'll pick him up from the apartment. And with that, Jiraiya left through the double doors. As our final bit of this meeting, I would like to ask you, Naruto, what you would like to be introduced as to the village. Hiruzen asked Naruto from his position at the center of the room. Naruto scrunched his face up in concentration before smiling and replying, for now I think Uzumaki Namikaze sounds good, don't you? Yes, I think that sounds just fine. Now if that is all, I think we can adjourn this meeting. Sustaining this jutsu for this long is a tax on Inoichi's chakra, I think, and also we are tired with that. Naruto led Inoichi back outside, giving the council one final view of Kyuubi grinning at the screen before Inoichi cut the jutsu out and the screen faded into the air. I think I will announce you parentage along with the fact you have left with Jiraiya to find Tsunade to take the mantle of Godame after you have left tomorrow, Naruto. Does that sound fine? Sure, Gigi, as long as you make sure nobody kicks up a stink about it, then I don't mind. It might be better for me to be out of the village looking for this Tsunade, for it gives people time to think about it before they see me. Naruto said as he started to fidget around, finally losing his patience with just standing around. His bloodline had already done wonders for him, but his patience could only be improved so much. Well then, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for your patience, Hiruzen said before an Anbu appeared to push him out of the room. As everybody began to leave, Naruto walked over to Hinata, who noticed him coming and began to blush again. Hey Hinata-chan. So you still want to go tonight? Why yes, I would still like to GG go. She said in a timid voice before taking the hand shyly that Naruto offered with a smile and began to walk out of the room. He froze as someone called out to her though. Hinata, a moment please. She turned with Naruto mimicking her to see her father stood in the center of the room. You have entered a relationship with young Uzumaki. He stated as though she was in trouble. Before she could speak out, Naruto decided to for her to save her stumbling over everything. He could clearly see she was not at ease around her father and that bothered him. I would hope that you would approve without trouble, but I'm willing to do whatever you want so I may continue to, he stated in a confident tone that made Hinata swoon slightly at his statement. He would do anything to continue to see me. She once again entered that blissful place called Cloud 9 where she continued to float on the euphoria that was Naruto, now Uzumaki Namikaze. On the contrary, Naruto-sen, I believe she may have chosen well. It is the rest of my clan you will need to get through to. The Council of Elders has their own agenda and will try to get to you through Hinata, I think. Whether by getting you to marry into us or failing that controlling your assets by giving the caged bird to Hinata if she eventually marries you. Naruto looked shocked, embarrassed and angry all at once, giving him what appeared to be a slight constipated look that almost made Hinata laugh, but she held it in. Then surprisingly he smiled. Hiashi-sama, there will be no need to worry. My mother says that after she's through with me I will be able to remove something as trivial as the caged bird's seal. Hinata's eyes went wide at this and jumped at Naruto, hugging him around his neck before realizing what she had done and jumping off of him. Looking down. Hiashi, to his credit, didn't twitch a muscle at this and carried on as if nothing happened. While I appreciate you mother's concern over my daughter, I hope she knows to monitor what you are both doing and to not let things get too far. Naruto blushed at that and Hinata finally fainted, causing Naruto to chuckle and Hiashi to sigh, then pick her up. I will expect you in 3 hours to pick her up from the Hyuga estate, and with that he left. Naruto sighed before deciding to go home and do a little reading and changing his clothes around in his new room and getting settled. When he got there he found his clone that he created on the Hokage roof in the kitchen, getting some food ready for him to eat and the picnic supplies he sent it to get on the kitchen table. But that he walked into the living room to research and pass time before his date. End. Chapter 7. A date. Naruto sat on the floor in the room he claimed in the new apartment, lounging with a drink and a scroll propped on his knees. He was reading an introduction to seals that his mother wanted him to start on as soon as possible, and he thought it would be good to use it to kill some time and keep him distracted. Now that he was sat here he could not help but keep glancing at the clock on his wall. He was getting nervous. He knew that Hinata liked him, she admitted it, but he couldn't help the feeling that this all might go wrong. After all, he knew nothing about dating. He didn't even know about her. Well, not a lot anyway. So he did the only thing he could do at the moment. He asked his mother. Mum? Yes, sweetie. I'm starting to freak out here. I meet Hinata-chan in an hour and I have no idea what to say when we get to the Hokage monument. I only know some things that I saw from the academy and from the times we've talked. I'm going to be so awkward when I pick her up as well. What do I do? He became more frantic as he listed of the things that could hinder his night with Hinata that he was making himself panic ever more. First off, calm down. Kushina said in a smooth and gentle voice. Now, the first thing you do when you pick her up is compliment her. She is a girl and she will be dressed up in some way. Naruto mentally took a breath and nodded at this and waiting for her to continue. The next thing is the conversation. When you start to walk, talk about what you just said, ask her about herself. Try to get to know her. You will feel awkward at first, he will too, she will also be nervous and quiet. You need to make her feel accepted and wanted. Get her to talk about herself and in turn she will ask about you. Okay, so when I see her, compliment her, then ask her about herself. Sounds simple. What about when we are actually sat down eating? I mean, yeah, we are going to be eating, but what happens if it starts to feel awkward again? Gah. This is hard. Minato came into the conversation at this point chuckling. He had been outside apparently talking with Kurama. I'm afraid that you're going through what every young man goes through, Naruto. Every man when they get to this point in their lives has doubts and you just have to wing it at certain points. Try to build on what she has already said. Try getting her to go into more detail of a previous topic or bring up a fact that could start a conversation she could be interested in. Also, you make sure to be respectful towards her father and her. Give a good impression of yourself on first meetings always. Naruto thanked his lucky stars he now had some form of a process to tonight now. He knew he would have messed it up royally if left to his own devices tonight. So just talk about each other, okay, easy enough. He then glanced at his clock and screamed. I've got half an hour. He bolted over to his wardrobe and started throwing his new clothes all over his room, ignoring the indignant shout of disapproval in his head from his mother. He went through several things looking for the perfect outfit and shouted in triumph when he found a black button-up dress shirt with a dark orange stripe down the spine and nice black pants to complete his dark ensemble. Slipping on his black ninja sandals, he made a clone to take everything up to the monument to set it all up before he got there with Hinata. He then went in the opposite direction towards the Hyuga compound. He finally got there and knocked on the traditional giant wooden compound doors and waited for about a minute before growing impatient and reaching for the giant iron ring knocker again before the door swung open, causing him to almost fall over flat on his face. Luckily he righted himself and looked up into the face of Niji, who was trying not to smile. Naruto-san, he said, managing to keep a straight face and going back to the Hyuga's patented stoic expression. Niji, Naruto replied, looking wary. He still thought Niji was going to be a complete fate-spewing ass. He was wrong when Niji bowed and said. Please forgive my actions during our match in the Chunin exams. I was wrong to think you didn't know suffering from a seal as I did. I would like you to know that I have made the decision to change and have already apologized to Hinata-sama and had a discussion with Hiashi-sama. Also, I would like to thank you for keep the Kyuubi sealed from us and protecting us every day you live. Thanks. I guess. Honestly Niji, if I got through to you, that's all that matters. Just don't turn into a man who believes in not fighting fate again and we'll be fine, Naruto responded with a smile. Niji then led him into the compound and led him across the courtyard to stand near the house. Hinata-sama will be out in a moment, we will wait here. Niji said as he took a seat on the raised walkway. Naruto sat down next to him and Naruto observed the medium-sized courtyard and noticed how uniform it all looked. All stone and square. After a moment a shoji slid open down the walkway from Niji and Naruto and Hiashi stepped out. As he approached, Naruto was not going to anything till his father shouted in his mind, "Greet and bow." Startling Naruto out of his musing and making him get up and turning to Hiashi along with Niji. "Uncle." "Hiashi-sama." "Boys, you wait on Hinata." "Hi uncle, we were just enjoying the quiet." "Indeed," Hiashi answered before turning to Naruto, "I expect you to have my daughter home from wherever you are going tonight by 10 o'clock at the latest." "Naruto-san, is that understood?" Naruto bowed again and answered, "Hi Hiashi-sama, she will be home, I promise." "Very good, so where are you taking her?" "We will be on top of the Hokage monument. I had a picnic laid out up there by a clone as I came here. A nice dinner and a sunset, and I hope that we can learn more about each other. So if you wish to find us for anything during the evening, we will either be there or somewhere along the way from here to there," Naruto said, looking at Hiashi to show his sincerity. "Very nice, not too much and a good icebreaker, a good choice. What is a good choice?" was heard from behind them and they all turned to see Hinata in the doorway looking curious. "Where Naruto-san is taking you this evening?" Hiashi responded, looking at Hinata along with Naruto and Niji, who was. Naruto was speechless, he didn't know Hinata looked like that. She was much curvier than the jacket she wore let on, very developed for her age. And her skin shone in the light of the lamps, he had never seen her show so much skin. And what she was wearing, well, the only thought he had was Hinata, and that outfit made her look beautiful. Starting from the waist, she had a long skirt that reached her ankles and a form-fitting white sweater that hugged her all the way down to her waist, along with some slightly heeled ninja sandals. She looked absolutely beautiful if the amount of staring from Naruto was anything to go by. She noticed this and blushed before feeling bold for a moment and doing a small twirl showcasing her outfit before renewing her blush only a darker red. "Why, you look amazing, Hinata-chan," Naruto managed to get out while still replaying the twirl in his mind. "Agreed, Hiashi," said Niji, "and I will leave you now, have a good time, Hinata." And with that they left back inside, leaving the new couple to themselves. "Then Naruto-kun, you look nice, I like the shirt." Hinata started looking Naruto over and liking the dark ensemble he had on. "Really? Thanks, I kinda wasn't sure about it. You on the other hand look absolutely amazing in that. I can't get enough of it." She continued to blush with his praise and just smiled at the compliments. "So you ready to go?" he asked, extending a hand towards her for her to take. In her mind she was screaming, "He's holding my hand." But on the surface she just smiled and took it as they left the compound and began their walk. "Suo," Naruto began lamely, "because this is what I mean is grr." Hinata giggled at Naruto's obvious nervousness and decided to help calm him on it. "And then nervous? Please don't be. I am too," she said with a cute smile. Naruto just hung his head and sighed. "Not a very good start, is it, Hinata-chan? I never been on a date before and I just thought because I didn't know you that well, you could maybe tell me about yourself." Naruto managed to get that out while still sounding as though he kinda knew what he was doing as Hinata replied. "It's okay to be nervous, and Naruto-kun, I am as well, but there isn't much to tell about me." When she said this, Naruto had an idea. "Well, how about this? Tell me your likes and dislikes, hobbies and dreams for the future." "That should be a good start," he said, while doing one of his face-splitting contagious smiles, causing her to smile as well. Well, okay, my likes are tea training, and my hobby is pressing flowers, my favorite foods are cinnamon rolls and zenzai. My dislikes are the split in the Hyuga families, I don't really like crab and shrimp. And my dreams for the future are to unite the branch and main houses of the Hyuga and 2. She stopped her and Naruto turned and saw her turn red again. "And to what? Hinata-chan?" "You would think it's silly," she muttered. "No, I won't, come on, you can tell me." "Well, I would like to start a family and be a mother," she timidly managed to get out. "Really?" Naruto replied in a calm tone. "I never really thought of that myself. I guess that would be nice, a family, yay, that sounds great, Hinata-chan, you would be a great mother." He finished with a true smile at her. She blushed a bright red, imagining the future they could have. Inside Naruto's mind, Kushina was cheering at the top of her voice, having listened in so far to the conversation. "Yay. Grandchildren, here we come, Dadabane." Minato just smiled. "So why is your family divided, if you don't mind me asking?" Naruto asked, trying to continue the conversation. Well, the branch family is branded with a seal that is meant to protect the Byakugan's secrets from people who would wish to steal them. B. But if that is the case T then all Hyugas should have it, also it can cause immense pain to the bearer of the seal, essentially enslaving our own family. That's why I want T to unite my family, she finished dejectedly making Naruto regret, asking he had to think quickly to bring this back to a good point. Well if anyone can do it then you can Hinata-chan, after all that's our Nindo right. She smiled when he said that right. When they got to the top of the Hokage monument she gasped at what Naruto had set up, or rather what his clone set up. The light was just fading as the sun began to set and a whole feast for two had been set up on the blanket with drinks and candles. I hope this isn't too cheesy for you Hinata-chan, I just thought it would be cozy Naruto said as they got closer. Hinata shook her head denying the thought no I love it. It's really nice thank you. Hey you didn't stutter. Naruto exclaimed getting used to me are you? She playfully swatted his arm for that maybe I am, is that a problem? She played along as they stopped in front of the blanket and began to sit down. Help her sit down. Naruto heard screamed in his head before hurrying to help her down. So I hope you're hungry we have a lot to choose from here, Naruto said sitting down next to her and unloading the picnic basket. As they ate they chatted and talked about each other, discussing what is going to happen next with the village and if this Tsunade person is going to be a good Hokage or not. Do you know how long you will be looking for her? I honestly don't know. I don't know anything about her, it all depends on if she travels around or if she lives somewhere all the time. Why don't you ask your father? Hinata asked thinking he would know being the fourth Hokage. Good idea hold on. Dad. Do you know anything about this Tsunade woman Naruto voiced inside his head. No not really not a lot. She is somehow related to you distantly through your mother's side there was moment when it was quiet before Kushina appeared yes we are related distantly, her grandmother was Mito Uzumaki who married the Shadame and she was Kurama's first container before me. Tsunade is something like my second cousin or something. She was actually the first person I was introduced to when I arrived in Konoha and the Senju compound where I lived. But I didn't see much of her. After she lost her brother and lover in the Third Shinobi World War, she left Konoha and got hooked on gambling and drinking. I assume she is still traveling around the nation somewhere. Oh really? Well thanks and Naruto cut the link and returned to the real world. Then Naruto-kun. Huh? Oh sorry Hinata-chan. I asked my mom and dad and am actually related to Tsunade somehow, distantly anyway. Oh really that's amazing, how? Well she is the granddaughter of an Uzumaki named Mito who married the first Hokage. Mito was the one who had my mother brought to this village, apparently she was the Kyuubi's first container before me and my mother. So she has Uzumaki blood in her and is something like my mother's second cousin. She lost her little brother and her lover in the last war, so she left Konoha and began drinking and gambling. That's so sad Hinata said thinking of losing her sister and family and having nothing left. Yay, still if I get her back here and she becomes Hokage she can be in my family. We're related so why not? I'm sure that would be wonderful and Naruto-kun. They continued the rest of the night talking of small things and joking with each other. Hinata was hardly stuttering anymore and Naruto was trying to make her feel as comfortable as possible to keep it that way. After a while as the sun began to set they ended up getting closer together and at some point Naruto leant back onto a tree and Hinata leant into his chest while sitting between his legs. They ate there in a comfortable silence watching the last pieces of light disappear from the sky and the village below light up in the night before moving back over to see to some desserts for them both. Naruto looked down at the village and wondered what life would be like after he came back from finding Tsunade, it must have shown on his face because Hinata spoke up Naruto-kun is something wrong. No at least not yet anyway. What do you think will happen when Gigi announces who my parents are while I'm away Hinata-chan? You think they will believe it? Of course they will Naruto-kun, if the Hokage says so they should believe it. Who would think of calling the Hokage a liar? By the time you get back it will have sunk in enough and people will just begin to treat you a lot nicer, no matter what happens I'll still be by your side, Naruto smiled as she cheered him up thanks Hinata-chan, you know just what to say to make me smile again huh? She turned red at this well I just said what I thought Naruto laughed now and there's the stutter again I kinda find that cutie realized what he said and turned as red as Hinata had of the comment. He said him cute. Anyway, it almost 10. We should head back now, I don't really want to have your dad mad at me after our first date. Naruto said as he made to stand up. Hinata looked upset that it had to end but took the proffered hand anyway and let herself be hoisted up onto her feet. They began to trek back down the way they had come and Hinata in a moment of boldness latched onto Naruto's arm. Causing Naruto to turn red and stare straight ahead because of Hinata developed assets against his arm. They arrived at the Hyuga compound without any talk just a comfortable walk and stopped in front of the large wooden doors once again and Naruto turned to Hinata. So, I hope you enjoyed yourself Hinata-chan, I know I did. Maybe we can do this again when I get back and I'll try to see if I can come round tomorrow and say goodbye before I leave. I did enjoy myself, Naruto-kun, and I would love to do this again when you get back. She leaned up and kissed his cheek, while slightly blushing. Good night, Naruto-kun. She turned and walked towards the door. Naruto turned and began to walk away before being spun round and having something wet pushed against his mouth. Hinata was kissing him. He barely registered this before she broke it and looked at the floor before explaining with "I in case I don't see why you tomorrow," before she ran back to the doors and disappearing behind them. Naruto stood there for several seconds before splitting a smile that threatened to split his face in half and doing a backflip, then walking off with his hands behind his head. Hinata stood in the stone courtyard at the entrance to the Hyuga compound before floating towards her room, not noticing when she passed her father, who was completely ignored, and also Niji, who just quirked an eyebrow at her dreamy expression. When she got into her room, she looked around before squealing at the top of her lungs and descended into a fit of giggles while falling back onto her bed and rolling side to side. This is how Hiashi found her, she sang to herself. I kiss Naruto, I kiss Naruto. He quietly backed out and left her to it. End. Chapter 8. The search begins. Naruto woke up to a knocking sound. He cracked open his eyes and peered across his room to the window to see Jiraiya beckoning him to get up and open the window so he could stop balancing on the windowsill outside. Naruto muttered something about idiot perverts not using obvious ninja skills and crawled out of bed. He shuffled over to the other side of the room and flicked the lock on the window, allowing Jiraiya entrance into the apartment. Damn you, Iro-senin, can you picklock the front door or something? Basic infiltration and all that, Naruto grumbled, making his way towards the hallway to the bathroom followed by Jiraiya. Damn it, Gaki, I told you to stop calling me that, and you're not a mission, you my apprentice, it's called manners. Jiraiya said with a huff. Anyway, are you all packed for our little trip? Tsunade's trail is a long one, we will be gone a while. Yay, I just need to get dressed and have breakfast, Naruto said, creating a shadow clone and sending it to the kitchen to cook something that wasn't ramen curse mothers and their misplaced love. Jiraiya followed the clone to the kitchen as the real Naruto was in the bathroom. Naruto number 2 started taking stuff out of cupboards to cook breakfast with and decided to quiz Jiraiya on the mission. Hey Iro-senin, how long do you reckon we'll be gone for? That depends, Gaki. We might get lucky and run into her right after picking up her trail, or we could be following her all over Fire Country for a month or more. A month, but I just got a girlfriend. And I haven't even visited Sasuke in the hospital yet. Naruto was severely annoyed with this development and was smoldering along with the eggs he was cooking. Relax, Naruto, you won't be able to think about that with the training I'm going to be having you doing. Naruto was instantly on alert at the mention of training. Really, what kind of training? Jiraiya laughed inside and replied, see if your dad is awake and ask him what the Rasengan is. Fine, but watch my food, I don't want it to burn. And with that he sat in one of the dining chairs in concentration on entering his mindscape. He appeared in front of the little cabin and ran inside to see if his parents were awake. They weren't. He ran to the back of the cabin before knocking and bursting in. Before screaming and running out again. Yes, Naruto had just seen that which cannot be unseen. On the surface, Jiraiya was confused as Naruto squeaked in his meditation before turning very red. My super pervert senses are tingling. I like it. Back inside Naruto's mind, from the room you could hear muffled curse words and shuffling before Minato emerged in the doorway with some trousers on and extremely red-faced. Naruto. No. You don't get to make excuses. You're in my head, remember. You can't do that in my head, I'm your son. Naruto cut him off in a frantic voice, don't even mention it, just let me forget. Now Jiraiya said to come here and ask you what Rasengan is. Rasengan? He's going to teach you that. Okay, so it's my strongest technique, the highest form of chakra manipulation. Glad that the subject had been changed, Naruto perked up at the fact it was a strong technique. So how easy is it to learn? Well, it took me about 3 years to create, and it took Jiraiya-sensei about a year to learn from me. I'm honestly not sure how long it will take you. Minato continued to ponder how long it would take Naruto to learn this, while Naruto began to look dejected at how difficult this technique seemed to be, before they both heard a noise behind them. They turned to see a sheepish-looking and blushing Kushina standing in the door holding a thin sheet around her. Why don't you just use shadow clones to train as in it as well? She muttered, still embarrassed. Naruto looked at her before realizing what she meant. Oh yay. I forgot about that. So a shadow clone's memories returned to me. So if I get a load to training and I'll remember what they did and it'll get better quicker. Mum, you're a genius. Minato also looked impressed by this and nodded in agreement that certainly would be a good training method. And it is something only you can do because of Kurama. Sweet, then I'm leaving to get training. See you later. Naruto shouted, already running out of the cabin and returning to the surface. In the cabin, Minato looked at where Naruto disappeared round the end of the hall before being tapped on the shoulder. Turning around, he saw a still shy Kushina who asked, so where we left off? Minato just picked her up princess style before kicking the bedroom door closed, laughing. Man? Minakushi FTW. On the surface Naruto opened his eyes dispelled as the real Naruto walked in dressed from the bathroom before looking at Jiraiya and smiling. "Rasengan," he said. "Rasengan," Jiraiya said back with a smile. "Carefully, Iro-sennin, if you start actually training me properly, I might start calling you sensei," Naruto quipped with a smile digging into his breakfast, causing Jiraiya to scowl and mutter "Brad" under his breath. He then noticed Naruto's new ninja outfit. He had obviously gone out and bought the orange shirt and probably a lot more, over that was a black jacket with kunai holders sewn into the inside. Normal blue ninja pants with tape around his right leg to hold his kunai pouch along with an equipment pouch on his waist. Taped ankles and black ninja sandals adorned his feet, giving him some support. "I like the new outfit." "I recognize the jacket," Jiraiya complimented. "I think you dad wore it once or twice." "Yeah, I found it with the pants and a lot of ninja sandals in the boxes when I moved in, the shirts I bought because dad didn't seem to like orange that much," Naruto pouted as he said this. "Well, as long as I have some orange I don't mind, at least I can be a bit stealthier now." "Agreed, I quite like that look, maybe a certain Hyuga might like it as well," Jiraiya hinted. "Yeah, wait, how do you know about Hinata?" Naruto asked in a panic. "Haha. Nothing escapes the great Jiraiya the Toad Sage. I know everything." Jiraiya struck his signature pose and held it as he said this. Naruto just sweat dropped. "Get off the table, Iro-sennin, I'll meet you at the gate." "I'm going to say goodbye to said Hyuga," Naruto said as he got up and walked towards the door with his pack. Jiraiya just nodded and left out the window. Naruto arrived at the Hyuga compound to see Hinata just leaving in a hurry. "Hinata!" he shouted, running over getting her attention. She in turn ran to him and hugged him. "I thought I had missed you leaving. I said I would come and see you, didn't I?" Naruto whispered in her ear. "Now I came here hoping to get something." Hinata leaned back with a confused look on her face. Naruto mentally grinned. "I seem to recall you giving me something when I brought you home last night." Hinata turned beet red as she realized what Naruto was talking about. "I was hoping to get another one," he said, leaning in slowly. Before Hinata could react, Naruto had got to where he wanted and she entered Cloud 9 in record time. His kiss was so sweet and gentle she instantly lost all control and tried to deepen the kiss and succeeded. Naruto eagerly complied and went along with it. Someone cleared their throat behind them and they both detached their faces with a suction sound and looked around. Hinata eeped and buried her head in Naruto's shoulder, refusing to acknowledge that 5 people had just seen them sharing that deep kiss. Behind them stood Kurenai, Shino, Kiba, Sakura and Hiashi himself. Naruto just decided that a direct approach was best in this situation. "Oh, hello Hiashi-sama, Kurenai-sensei, guys. I assume from your actions, Naruto-san, you are leaving with Jiraiya-sama." "Hi Hiashi-sama. Very well, I came to tell Hinata that her team was here to collect her, but she is obviously now knows. Good day." And with that he turned and walked back inside the compound. Naruto turned to the rest who stood with their mouths on the floor. "A guy." Kiba reacted first. "What the hell was that? When did this happen?" He was followed by an emphatic yay. From Sakura. "Oh really? I noticed round about the Chunin exams it wasn't really official till yesterday though. If you only started this yesterday, why are you kissing like that?" Sakura exclaimed, looking livid with Naruto. The reply didn't come from Naruto, but from Hinata, although it was a little muffled because she was still hiding in the crook of Naruto's shoulder. "Because I was saying goodbye. And what does it matter how I kiss my boyfriend?" Sakura opened her mouth several times before giving up and changing subject. "What did you mean by saying goodbye? Where is Naruto going?" "I'm going with Jiraiya-sensei to bring back the next Hokage. I'll be gone for a while, so I came to say goodbye. I haven't even got time to see Sasuke before I leave," said, looking sad for a moment as he realized Sasuke was still in the hospital and he hadn't visited. "Anyway, I've got to run or Iro-sennin will get impatient." With one last peck on the cheek to Hinata and a hurried goodbye, he ran off towards the village gates, leaving Hinata to be quizzed by her sensei, friends and teammates. "Suo Hinata, finally bagged Naruto," Kiba said, walking over and nudging her with his elbow. Hinata just kept her head down and nodded bashfully. She was thankful when Shino finally spoke and came to her aid. "Kiba, we should not tease Hinata about this and just be happy for her," giving Kiba the dreaded sunglasses lens shine stare. "Geez Shino, I was only playing, I didn't mean anything by it." Shino continued his glare till Kiba sighed. "Sorry Hinata for teasing you about Naruto." Hinata just smiled and finally looked up. "So how did this happen, Hinata?" Sakura and Kurenai asked at the same time, starting a long-winded explanation from Hinata that carried on for a good while. "Man. Not going to explain it all, you know what happens." Naruto got to the gates to find Jiraiya waiting for him. "Sorry Iro-sennin, I ran into some friends," he shouted as he approached the gates. "No problem, I just got a message from a contact. We'll start our search to the south of Fire Country, that's where it was rumored she was last, so let's get going. We're burning daylight here," he said before turning and walking out the gates, prompting Naruto to follow him. They didn't get more than a mile before Naruto began demanding his training in the Rasengan. Come on Iro-sen and I want to try out my new training method. Jiraiya smirked to himself as he pulled a balloon out and filled it with water using a small jutsu, before turning to Naruto. Okay then, to start with I want you to pop this water balloon using only your chakra. He then demonstrated by blowing it up in Naruto's face. Sputtering and coughing, Naruto wiped his face before getting a grin some might consider evil and asking, so how many of those do you have? Jiraiya then pulled a scroll from a pocket and replied, enough to cover a month of training. Why? Perfect, Naruto replied before creating about 50 clones and taking the scroll from Jiraiya and getting his clone set up with a balloon and continuing to walk. Jiraiya just picked his jaw off the road and followed after him. It was now 5 days since leaving Konoha, and Naruto, with the use of a combined total of a year's worth of training, thanks to his clones, had the first 2 steps down for the Rasengan. Now all he had to do was combine them. Easier said than done, he had already put the same amount of effort with the clones into this 3rd stage as he had with the initial first 2 steps, and he hadn't got anywhere. He was currently sat in his room in the hotel Jiraiya had gotten them in the town they were currently searching for Tsunade at. And of course Jiraiya had stolen Gama-chan, Naruto's toad wallet, and gone to a strip club. So while his mother ranted and screamed bloody murder inside his head, Naruto decided a bit of reading would be a good way to relax, while 10 clones tried to merge the stages of the Rasengan on the floor around the bed. Hukaten. Shikyaku no Ryu, Fire Release. Incineration Dragon, no Raten. Dejeki Mahi no Jutsu, Lightning Release. Shock Paralysis Technique. Again, no. Naruto was currently browsing his father's idea book that he had picked up to skim through whilst on his downtime in the evening of this mission, and was now browsing through the back end of the book and his father's later ideas towards the end of his life. Blood Clone Halua Watts. This creates living container for a form of spirit or conscious entity or entities. This is it. He then concentrated on his mindscape and shouted, Dad. I found a way out for you and Mum. Maybe Kurama as well if he behaves. Oh, really? How? Minato said in excitement, standing up from his workout in the field in front of the cabin. You had the idea years ago, blood clones. It's right here in your idea book. Of course, how could I forget that? We need some special materials if I remember right though, Minato said, trailing off at the end. Yay, it says you need chakra wood, and if you are trying to resurrect someone specific, you need some of their DNA. Naruto paused a moment before smiling. Well, good thing I've left your room alone. I should be able to find something that's still got your DNA somewhere, but what the hell is chakra wood? Don't worry about the chakra wood because you can just send a message to the Sandaime and get a mission commission for a team to go and purchase it. It should be there for when we get back, Minato said in response before Kushina came out and joined in the conversation. Well, either way, I'm just glad we have a way out of your head now, Koichi. Naruto chuckled at that and bid his parents goodbye as he retreated from his mind and back into the hotel room. A while after, as he was browsing through the rest of his father's ideas journal, he was roused from it by a knock at the door. Thinking it was just Jiraiya too drunk to open the door himself, he prepared to shout the man into a coma. His shout died in his throat as he opened the door and 2 men in black cloaks stood in the doorway. Naruto Uzumaki? Asked the shorter of the two. Who's asking? Naruto's replied in a defensive tone. Would you please come with us? It would save a lot of trouble on both our parts. Pat chance of that, Mr. Tall, dark and brooding, Naruto replied, narrowing his eyes at this now obvious threat. Itachi, it's obviously not going to work. Let me shave his legs, then we just can carry him. The taller man stated, lifting a large wrapped club-looking object from his back. Try it, you overgrown air-starved prick, Naruto exclaimed before slamming the door, leaping across the room, grabbing his and Jiraiya's still-packed bags, and Hirai shining through the window to the rooftop across the street. Behind him he heard the front door get kicked in and the 2 men enter. Little shit Ilgut, the taller man stopped and stared at the clones that were sat around the room beforehand practicing the Rasengan. They all smirked evilly before dispelling. When the smoke cleared and they looked around, they saw what the clones left behind, then the room detonated. Naruto chuckled from across the street and praised his clones for utilizing his exploding tags in such a way. Buggers are getting smarter, he muttered to himself. That doesn't say much for you, no, does it, Naruto-kun? He froze at the voice behind him. He turned to see a slightly burned couple of men, the taller of which was glaring bloody murder at the blonde. I'm going to beat you to a pulp for that little stunt, you shit, he made to move towards Naruto before falling flat on his face and screaming in rage. Then a new voice echoed across the rooftop. Touch my student and you die, Jiraiya said in a deadly tone that proved he meant business. Kuchius. Gamaguchi Shibari, summoning. Toadmouth bind, success. Naruto noticed the one called Itachi look down, surprised to see the rooftop turn into a pink fleshy substance, before covering his expression with a mask of indifference before speaking. Kisum, we are out of time, let us leave, he said before black fire sprung up on the flesh around Kisum, freeing him before going out as the 2 men disappeared via suction. Jiraiya was tense for another moment in case it was a trick before relaxing and walking over to Naruto. "You alright?" he asked. "I'm fine, Hiro-senin, just a bit shaken. Those guys were powerful." "Yes, and they are part of an organization that hunts down Jinchuriki like you. Kisame Hoshigaki and Itachi Uchiha. And before you ask, yes, he is Sasuke's older brother and the perpetrator behind the Uchiha massacre, so of course he is powerful." Naruto took all this information with narrowed eyes. Mini flashback no jutsu. The kill is certain, man. Mini flashback no jutsu kai. So that is the man responsible for Sasuke's attitude and goals in life, that who he wants to kill. Naruto, you must promise never to try and engage in combat with anyone who wears that cloak on you own without me or several other high-rank shinobi with you. You don't have to tell me twice, Sensei, Naruto said with conviction, calling him sensei to show how serious he was about it. But now as our hotel room has had some, he paused and looked at the raging inferno in the side of the hotel, with people trying to put it out, minor remodeling issues. "I think we should skip town for our own safety in more than one regard and make camp on the way to the next town." "Sure thing, Hiro-senin," Naruto chirped as he picked up his pack as they made their way quickly out of town. "So where were you when all this went down then?" Naruto asked as they walked down the dirt road. Jiraiya panicked. "Well, you see. After a whole night of Naruto relaying his mother's angry rant in his head to Jiraiya outside, scaring the perverted sage almost half to death in the process, because he was away with a woman when the incident happened last night, they made it to the next town on the trail of Tsunade. Well kid, if we're going to find Tsunade anywhere in the land of fire, this will be it. Welcome to the town of Tenzaku," Jiraiya said with flair, coming over the crest of a hill and looking down on the place. "Sweet Hiro-senin, so why is that castle destroyed?" End. Chapter 9. There's always something. Jiraiya and Naruto approached the gates to the town with caution, but as they approached they realized that life was carrying on without a problem, despite the fact that the town's castle had been leveled by something. Jiraiya now knew for a fact that Tsunade was here, as she was the only one with the power to bring down a structure of that size, apart from a boss summon. His theory was only cemented by the fact that this was a gambling town and that it had a festival going on. She will definitely be here if there is a festival going on, she wouldn't lose an opportunity to gamble this much. He informed Naruto as they passed through the gates with the crowd. "First things first, let's get something to eat and drink. We've been walking all day, stay alert. We're looking for a woman who looks to be in her mid-20s, with a diamond on her forehead and really large breasts. Ow, that was from mom saying don't try and be a pervert around me, your punishment will be swift if you do," Naruto said before smiling as Jiraiya paled yet again at the mention of a punishment from Kushina. They walked through the town munching on food, observing the large crowds that had gathered for the festival. From food stands to game stands, everyone was out to have fun, and this was just the streets. Naruto saw so many casinos in the town he had lost count entirely. After they had gotten some lunch from one of the less busy kiosks along the street, they decided to start searching for the elusive Hokage to be. "Hiro-senin, shall we split up? We might find her quicker if we head in opposite directions," Naruto asked while trying to look through the crowd to get a possible glimpse of their quarry. "That could be a good idea, Brad. I'll send a toad with you to let me know if you find anything," Jiraiya said, preparing the hand seals before being stopped. "Don't bother, I'll just send a clone with you, it's a lot quicker than sending a toad to find you. I'll just make another and dispel it to get the info to you that way." "Fine, just try to stay out of trouble please," Jiraiya said with a worried look. He really didn't want to skip town again, the research opportunities he would miss. With that said, Naruto created a clone and went on their way in opposite directions. But Naruto was walking through the crowded streets making a beeline for his first target. Jiraiya said Tsunade likes to gamble, so gambling was what he was looking for, and where better to find that than the most popular casino in town. He had already found a store owner who pointed him in the right direction. It helped that said store was a jewelry store and had a nice little bracelet that absolutely screamed Hinata to his face. So he bought it as a thank you to the owner. They arrived at the casino to see a massive queue to get into the front door. This place was so popular that it was a red rope affair. Well, he was a ninja for Kami's sake, time to use that. He walked around the site and saw a window on the third floor open, so he walked straight up the wall to it and got inside. God, he loved being a ninja. He spent about half an hour wandering around looking at everything, but couldn't see a woman matching Tsunade's description. He didn't understand it, he thought he had this in the bag coming to the most popular place in town, but no. He had to have worst luck in the world, or so he thought. God damn, this woman is troublesome to find, he muttered while walking down a pachinko aisle. For those of you who don't know what pachinko is, it is a game in Japan similar to pinball. Only imagine the table is vertical instead flat and has different rules. It is amazingly popular. He was looking at the floor while muttering curses and saw something shine at the corner of his vision. He looked over and saw some ryo lying on the floor under some stools for the machines. He paused for a moment before deciding. What the hell, I got nothing better to do, he muttered before leaning down, picking it up and plopping it in the machine. His mouth hit the floor when the balls that were fired into the machine all landed in the right places, giving him a lovely little payout of about a 500 ryo. He okay, that was lucky, he said with a smile before plopping another coin in. Once again flashing lights and a nice big payout. 10 minutes later and we find our intrepid hero grinning like a madman carrying 2 buckets he found full of coins he had won to the payout desk to change his winnings into bills. Totaling in the hundred thousands, his winnings was nice, a hefty sum that he would save for a special occasion. The legendary sucker Tsunade is at the high rollers table. Or not, he said as he ran after the man who had shouted that out. Up several flights of stairs back to the 3rd floor and through a couple of crowds later and Naruto found a room with a table for some sort of card game that looked mildly interesting. He was about to take a seat across from the large-chested blonde who he assumed was Tsunade when she looked up. "Beat it, brat, this table is for high rollers," only Tsunade snapped at the brat. Naruto in a deadpan voice looked at her and responded with, "I have 500,000 ryo on me, lady." This caused the woman with a pig behind Tsunade to start sweating. "Bet this kid a chair." Tsunade screamed on hearing the amount of money he had on him. She chuckled, "This kid would be easy like taking candy from a baby." "This kid is taking all our money like candy from a baby," cried one of the high rollers at the table before breaking down in tears and walking away with whatever he had left. "Hey kid," asked another, getting Naruto's attention, "how long have you been playing this game to get this good?" Must have been young. Everyone on hearing the man ask the question leaned in expecting an answer. Naruto paused before deciding to be honest. "This is the first time I've ever played, I just put the cards down at the end and win." "What's this game called anyway?" That broke the proverbial camel's back and all the high rollers stated, twitching before running screaming from the table. Apart from Tsunade, she calmly picked up what she had and left the table towards the exit. Naruto cashed his new winnings in before following her at a distance back out into the town. He followed her and who he assumed her servant, judging by the fact that the woman had the same pig and was standing behind her. He followed them up until they entered a bar when he decided it was time to inform Jiraiya. Making a clone and then popping it, he let the other line that he left with Jiraiya that he had found her and was waiting for him. Soon enough Jiraiya led by the clone arrived and the clone dispelled its job done. "Great job, Naruto, where is she?" Jiraiya asked, walking over to stand with him. "She's inside that bar. I went to the most popular casino in town cause you said that she liked to gamble. I spent ages in there before I found her and then I followed her here." "Perfect, let's go in and follow my lead. For all she knows it a pleasant surprise and we just ran into her, okay?" "Got it," Naruto said as they walked across the street to the front door of the bar. Tsunade was sat in the cubicle at the back of the bar she and Shizune had stopped at and was in a drunken ramble about children with the devil's luck and how she couldn't catch a break. "Tsunade. What a pleasant surprise." She cursed at the sound of that voice. Of all the things going wrong with today, it just had to be him that added to the pile. "Jiraiya. I unfortunately can't say it a pleasant surprise for me. What are you doing here?" Before Jiraiya could even reply, Naruto burst out. "Hey, you're the lady that was at the casino. The one that I trashed in that card game." "Excuse me, Naruto?" Jiraiya questioned, "You didn't mention this to me." Naruto turned round and winked at him before replying, "Yay, when you gave me that free time earlier I went to this casino place. I won a lot of money and ended up playing this card game and won lots of money from her." Jiraiya chuckled, he can't believe you lost at cards to your own family. "What are you talking about? What family?" Tsunade asked, her eyes narrowing on Jiraiya. "Oh right, Tsunade, this is Naruto Uzumaki. As close as I can figure you're his great aunt, I guess." Jiraiya finished on a question mark because he honestly couldn't figure out her exact relation to him. "Wait, so she's meant to be my auntie? But she's too young to be that old." Naruto exclaimed in disbelief. "I age well." Tsunade lied before Jiraiya could say anything. "So who exactly are you, kid?" Tsunade was actually curious. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki and my mother was Kushina Uzumaki. You met her when you were a teenager. She had bright red hair. Like your grandmother." Tsunade thought for a moment before replying. "Yes, I remember her. Didn't know we were related though. Small world, so where is she now?" Tsunade wanted to know if she really did have family back in Konoha. This would mean she made a mistake leaving so quickly. Well, it's kind of a long and confusing story. But the bottom line is she is dead and sealed inside me. Tsunade did a spit take at that. Cue lengthy explanation that you've heard before. Some time later Tsunade and Shizune sat in their seats slack-jawed and looking at Naruto as though he had grown a second head. "That's unbelievable," Shizune muttered under her breath, recovering her senses. Tsunade agreed. Tsunade sat there cursing her hastiness. If she had just held on and looked around herself, she would have found a girl who needed family just as much as her. But she had left too quickly and nobody had been there to look after Naruto. She decided to voice this. "I'm so sorry Naruto, maybe if I hadn't been so grief-stricken and looked around, I would have been there for your mother. I could have delivered you and maybe this wouldn't have all happened." She finished with a tear in her eye trying not to cry. "Don't worry about it Oba-chan. I've got a way to get her out of the seal that I'm going to do when we get back. So you don't have to beat yourself up," Naruto said with a smile trying to get her to stop crying. "Well you don't have to do it alone, I think that I'm long overdue for a visit home don't you think?" Shizune looked ecstatic to hear that they would be going back to Konoha. Almost too happy Jiraiya thought. "I think you should know though that Orochimaru approached me earlier today as well," Tsunade said before Jiraiya could even ask why Shizune seemed happy with her master's decision. "Ah," thought Jiraiya. On the outside, he just replied with "there's always something." "Care to explain?" She took a large swig of sake straight from the bottle before launching into her explanation. "Well whatever happened to him has rendered his arms useless." "That would be Hokage Jiji's doing." Naruto interrupted the Hibi team attack during the Chunin exam finals and Jiji gave up his legs to take away Hibi team's jutsu. Tsunade was surprised to hear this. "So sensei can't walk anymore?" And Jiraiya's nod she let out a breath and continued. "Well that sucks." "Yes it does. It's also one of the reasons for you coming back as well," Jiraiya continued. "We don't think there is a lot that can be done, but we're hoping the pain can at least be lessened." "Well we will see what I can do when we get back there then," Tsunade said finishing the depressing talk for the minute. "Now on to business. I still think that being Hokage is a fool's errand, so I guess that makes me a fool, but I will start by trying to get rid of one of our biggest problems. I asked Orochimaru to give me a week to think about his offer. I'm obviously not going to take it as I would like my loved ones to continue to rest in peace. I say we ambush him." Naruto perked up at this. "Yes." He exclaimed, "Revenge for Jiji here. We. Come." He stood up on his seat when he exclaimed this, only to get slapped on the head by Jiraiya, making him fall back in his seat clutching his new spot. "Calm down Naruto, if anyone is going to fighting in a week it won't be you," he said looking serious for the first time ever. "What do you mean I won't get to fight? I wanna hit that guy for what he did in the Chunin exams as well," our intrepid little hero declared with zeal. "You about 101 years too early for Orochimaru." Tsunade spoke. "If anything you will aid Shizune in dealing with Kabuto, Orochimaru's little helper." Naruto looked like someone had kicked his puppy at that. But I've got Hiraishin." Jiraiya decided to head off Tsunade before she went off on one. "Technically you don't have Hiraishin fully Naruto. It is a bloodline now so we don't know if it has any levels and such to it yet." "I bet you I have got all of the Hiraishin," Naruto replied back cockily and causing Tsunade to perk up. "The bet you say?" Tsunade asked Naruto causing Shizune to groan in desperation. "Tell you what Brad, I'll take that bet and if I win you have to give me all that money you won earlier at the casino," she said with an evil glint in her eye. "That money will pay off all my debts before I become Hokage," she thought gleefully. "What would I get if I win?" Naruto asked out of curiosity. "You want to be Hokage right?" She got a nod in response. "Then it'll give you this necklace that belonged to the first Hokage. It can literally buy a mountain if you wanted it to because it is that valuable." Naruto looked at the necklace like it was a holy artifact and nodded enthusiastically at the prospect of owning such a valuable item. "Okay you're on. What are the rules?" "The only reference for techniques is your dad and you had right. Well then you can't ask him for help and must develop your own form of the Hiraishin," she said matter-of-factly. Naruto faltered for a minute before perking up. "Deal," he said calmly before running off to begin training. Jiraiya sighed and looked at Tsunade who was drooling at the thought of all the money she would win, or she could just be piss drunk now. "I said it once already and I'll say it again. There's always something. And what if Naruto bloodline awakened by gods in Chunin exams, and thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down and thanks for watching the video and see you guys next video.